muyatina wawo nuguya melu muyatina balambandalaro tura di kabana mama launura gule hara hara familia balambandalaro tura di kabana hanya launura gule hara hara familia ay adimene hatina amana muleno ayanu hatina aunedi saniko they mele tia no e mama ay no bakia batatia mulen mama oh no bakia batatia mulen da Hawago, nisani gunarita guwa. Hawago, nituwe narita guwa. Lebele, tia no e mama. Oh, la bakia banda tia abune mama. Hey, la bakia banda tia abune mama. Aye. Ay, lo bakia banda tia abune mama. Oh, lo bakia banda tia abune mama. Hey, lo bakia banda tia abune mama. Oh, lo bakia banda tia abune mama. Laubala banda abunana.
Good morning. We are almost about to get started. Can I ask the presenters, Dr. Roy Cayetano, Mr. Pablo Miss, Mrs. Felicita Cantun, Mr. Aurelio Shaw, Mrs. Adela Peterson, and Dr. 𝗵𝗄𝐶𝐾 to please come forward and sit at the panel desk in the front. Thank you. We're almost about to get started. Thank you. Good morning once again, and welcome to our very first Indigenous Peoples Resistance Day Forum. I am going to attempt to say this. Aurelio and Joshua set me up, so we will see how well this goes. 𝐸𝐭𝐚𝐧𝐜𝐞𝐬 𝐸⁴𝐸𝐭𝐚𝐧𝐜𝐢𝐬. Good? Thank you. 𝐷𝗵𝗲𝗄 𝐷𝗵𝗵𝗀𝗄 indígena 𝗲𝗏𝗄 𝗅icha. Okay, again, thumbs up. Indigenous Peoples Resistance. That is what we are celebrating here today. I would like to thank all of you for coming in to commemorate this national holiday as we continue to learn about the resistance that our Indigenous people continue to face in Belize. A pleasant good morning to each of you. A pleasant good morning to Dr. Vincent Palacio, President of the University of Belize. Commissioner Greg Chuck, representative of the Minister Honorable Dolores Balderramos Garcia of the Ministry of Human Development, Families and Indigenous Peoples Affairs. Director Rolando Cocom of the Institute for Social and Cultural Research at �NICH. I would like to also recognize the ambassadors and members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps, including ambassadors and representatives of Mexico, Guatemala, Panama, Cuba, Venezuela, and Taiwan. And of course, last but not least, our esteemed presenters, Mr. Pablo Miss, Mrs. Felicita Cantun, Ms. Adela Vallegos, Mr. Aurelio Shaw, and Dr. 𝗵𝗄 𝗪. And thank you so much for being here this morning. Welcome to students and, of course, other persons that are watching live stream at home. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am your Director of Ceremonies, Ms. April Martinez. I would like to call on Ms. Felicita Cantun to lead us in the national anthem sung in Yucatec Maya. Kindly rise, everybody.
At the count of 3, Hun, Ka, Osh. No lumil tu kab nabil Caribe, masahakil kastantik dia chakabil, mishmak kasalash, waiku tahkubaye, tielu milhes nakil tushkutanka. 𝗞𝗵𝗴𝗄𝐸𝐴 tuta sachakabil tiepalitsil mukil hahilusibalku yang patik aksengkas kontekas wayan upal batsil bahyano bukin bukmatel mistish aknohlum mintich bimpachil lepech ol alkabanses nohlum chakabil tutzel Caribe noha si nalilta milet yetel tul yo wich tashkabil chakam kubalak ak yungom masahak pekanob tushulob hokolo patalesibal kuchu no riohondo takno sarstun tu petempuksun yokol kahabnabcho pisangkan 𝗥𝗶𝗃𝗄𝗃 samal uyul hakab ijusastalkin wayan upal batsil bayano bukin bukmatel miste aknohlum, mentes, bimpajil, lepech ol alkabanses, nohlum, chakabil, tutzel, benoha. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Ms. Felicita and Ms. Adela. I would also like to welcome Dr. Roy Cayetano, another panelist this morning. Kindly remain standing as Mr. Joshua Arana leads us with the Garifuna prayer this morning.
Bungio lida sungula Yubila paruwe hao Aduguala le babu seru Lida mua lida sungula Lida mua lida sungula Baba le sedibe la biri chile la barwe hamo adogo la leba bosero ya oboa go kesi la dogo no seiri rubo wega fenwo oguya tola na sagowe ferudo na bei wachara kesi ferudo amania ha charu bayawo migira bawa luwego dolida wosha waguniwa memegi safabawa lida ge sunguribani itarala Bungio lida sungula Yubila paruwe hao Aduguala le babu seru Lida mua lida sungula Lida mua lida sungula
I'll be seated. Thank you so much. I run a round of applause for our esteemed cultural presenters this morning. I'd also like to recognize Dr. Savory, the Vice President of University of Belize. Thank you so much for being here this morning, and other members and staff of the University of Belize and the Institute for Social and Cultural Research. I would now like to ask Dr. Vincent Palacio, President of the University of Belize, to welcome us in the opening remarks.
𝗲𝗲𝗃, 𝗲𝗵𝗃𝗵𝗵𝗃, receive what? Good morning. We live in a beautiful country. We could sing the national anthem in one language and pray in another language and present in another language. It's a good place. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our panelists, especially my own Uncle Roy. Always welcome to the university, Uncle, and all the other panelists. It is our pleasure to have you. Members from our diplomatic community, welcome. Vice President of the University of Belize, Dr. Savory, our friends from 𝐑𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐬, our students, welcome to this event. Today marks the second year of celebrating the Indigenous Peoples Resistance Day. This celebration found a home at the university. Therefore, today I am especially pleased to invite you once again to our beautiful Central Campus to acknowledge a long history of resistance and solidarity with oppressed people of the world, and especially this hemisphere. We cannot do this without acknowledging the grassroots struggles of our people to reclaim our history. The university has not sidestepped its responsibility in these matters. We have established our Intercultural Indigenous Language Institute, the first of its kind in Belize, and we continue to frame the discussion around issues such as language and identity. This forum today is a testament to that. We are aware that the culture and heritage inherited from our ancestors are the hallmark of our people, our country, and our history. Without them, the society becomes a soulless one and loses its essence. They are what makes our country unique in its own way. As you all know, language is the foundation of a culture. For our indigenous communities, the spoken words hold vast fountains of knowledge that has been amassed for thousands of years. These indigenous languages that we speak preserve the stories, songs, dances, family history, and connection that we have with one another. And I could remember many stories that were shared with me by my own grandmother, passed on to my mother, and then to myself. It keeps us together. When a language dies, so does the link to the cultural and historical ties. And when that connection is lost, we lose our sense of identity and belonging. Therefore, for me, it continues to be a priority for the university to preserve our rich culture and language. I will not continue further to expound on this, as the highly qualified and experienced panelists in the upcoming agenda will do just that. So please relax and enjoy the presentations we have prepared for you. The Met Office sent a circular earlier this morning of a heat alert. This is serious here. In Belmopan, we will get up to 103 degrees Fahrenheit today. So drink your water and stay in the cool. With that announcement, I'll ask our UB colleagues to please put on this next AC that is over here, because we need all the ACs we could get this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President, Dr. Palacio. I was hoping somebody would say that. Before I call our next speaker, I would like the students to take a good look at our panelists this morning. Remember their faces, not just their names. These are our elders. You are the future for these elders. The information that they give you today, you are going to be responsible to carry it on for the next generation to come. Another round of applause for our lovely panelists this morning. Our remarks from the Minister of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology will be provided by Director of the Institute for Social and Cultural Research, Mr. Rolando Kokom.
A pleasant good morning to each and every one of you. I would like to reiterate the acknowledgement to the President of the University of Belize, Dr. Vincent Palacio, Commissioner Greg Chuck as a representative of Minister Honorable Dolores Balderramos Garcia, to members of the Diplomatic and Consular Corps. Thank you for being a part of this session. Heads of government and heads of department, thank you so much for being present. To our esteemed panelists, again, we reiterate our gratitude for your presence and participation in this forum. The students, educators, fellow Belizeans, both here in person and those of you joining us virtually today and in the future, thank you for participating in this program. First and foremost, I extend warm greetings from the Honorable Francis Fonseca, Minister of Education, Culture, Science, and Technology. While he could not be with us today, it is his vision for niche prioritizing public education and engagement that brings us together for this event. At the National Institute of Culture and History, this year, we mark 2 decades of dedication to Belize and its people. 2 decades of championing our creative minds, preserving our priceless archaeological heritage, showcasing our rich culture at the Museum of Belize and Houses of Culture, and advancing vital research into our nation's social and cultural identity. Yet, in the grand timeline of our history, these 20 years are but a brief moment. They are half the duration since our independence of 1981, and merely an instant when contrasted with the 400 years since Columbus washed up on our Caribbean coast in 1492. This led to genocide and displacement of indigenous peoples and Africans, as well as profound social and cultural exchanges in the global order, largely benefiting European imperial powers and states. But let us go farther back, before Columbus, before Spanish and British colonial footprints. Our lands thrived with more than 3,000 years of continuous civilization, innovation, and cultural renaissance. The Maya, with their sophisticated architecture, advanced agriculture, and pioneering art and design, stand as a testament to our indigenous culture and heritage. And from the far reaches of the Orinoco River Basin came the Arawak and the Carib cultures, whose intersection with West Africans gave birth to the vibrant Garinagu culture. The Garinagu suffered immense challenges and fought fearlessly to ensure their cultural survival before being forced to live on Roatan and later settling in Belize and other parts of Central America. The Garinagu enrich our Belizean heritage with their culture and spirit of resilience. These centuries of subjugation and resistance underline the need for fostering greater cultural understanding. While challenges persist, the winds of change are undeniable. Indigenous communities have resiliently risen against centuries of discrimination and dispossession. The legal and political victories fought for and won by our indigenous peoples are worth celebrating, such as the victory of the Maya communal land rights, and the victory of the Garifuna language dance music being recognized as part of the representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Their call for respect, cultural safeguarding, and autonomy now finds a moral, legal foundation that resonates nationally, regionally, and globally. Today's Belize, as it should be, is more respectful of the conversations around social justice, decolonization, and social empowerment. At 𝐸, our commitment to support cultural programs of the Yucatec, Mopan, 𝗏𝐶𝐻, and our Garifuna communities is evidence of a brighter future for indigenous peoples of Belize. And as we gather on this 12th day of October 2023, we commend Belize's newfound pride and respect towards its indigenous roots. The establishment of the University of Belize Intercultural Indigenous Language Institute is a shining example of this dedication under the vision of President Dr. Vincent Palacio. And while Mr. Delmer Sib, the Institute's driving force, couldn't be here, his efforts and those of the extended UB team, including its institutional advancement and marketing office deserve our heartfelt gratitude. We are here today to gain insights from our esteemed panelists about safeguarding our indigenous cultures, to learn and experience the cultures of our region via the booth experience that will take place after. Last year, Belize, as a member of the United Nations General Assembly, announced the creation of an international decade of indigenous languages, acknowledging that almost 40% of the world's languages are endangered. Indigenous communities, though a mere 6% of the global population, are the guardians of over half of these languages. However, most of these languages are under threat, and most of them are indigenous languages. Therefore, we must act now. The theme for NICHA 20 celebrations is celebrating our heritage, inspiring our future. And as we delve into today's discussions and booth experiences, let us pledge to ensure that our indigenous languages flourish, that our cultural understanding deepens, and that our commitment to Belize's cultural development remains unwavering. Thank you.
Thank you, Director 𝐶𝐬, for those inspiring words. I would like all of you to take out a pen and a paper, right? Just a pen and a paper. Because as our panel presentations are going to get started, they're going to be in indigenous languages. So I hope that our panelists will give a quiz after this is done to see how well you've absorbed this information this morning. Because as Mr. 𝐶𝐬 says, 40% of our indigenous languages are on the verge of extinction. How many of you used to say, I don't learn the language because my man never teach me, or my grandpa never teach me, or they used to use it as a secret language, right? Let's hope that after today, that is no longer an issue, right? Our first panelist is a representative of the National Garifuna Council, Dr. Roy Cayetano. He will be our first presenter this morning. Let's give him a round of applause, please.
Mabuigo, 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗵. We're talking about resistance, right? I think I'm very good at that. Busut no lo adamri, gunda nugunda nahala yahuma, lo 𝗬𝗵𝗴𝗃 ni 𝗬𝗶𝗃𝗃. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃 Gibet lo na faring hani, alg duwat na lo na dumreha loago diesel finga da, aba menegeti na dumreha lida wereru, aba menegeti la garaba duno lidon inglesi. Beiti la gambu no lira. Beiti la gambu no lira. Memegi, diesel gen li finga da ichuti no, na dumer halida wereru la garba do me lido inglesi senga rugaba finga da logo atilera no buset na nagambo biset na da lunaringo nile na busaru be lunaringo. Okay, is that all right? Yes, forgive me for being disobedient and resistant, but I believe that what I have just said illustrates the point that I want to make. I believe in symbols. I believe in optics. I think it is very important that we give our native languages the respect that they are due and the place that they should have in the society, the place that has been taken away from them because of colonial rule. and that continues even after self-government and independence. I have been given 10 minutes, and if I speak in Garifuna and translate it to English, that will in effect only be 5 minutes. So forgive me, but I want to be heard. And if I speak to you in my preferred language, Garifuna, you will not understand it. Probably even the Garinago in this crowd, except for the esteemed president, will not understand. Ah, okay. So here we go. Why the resistance? Why has it been necessary for ancestors to resist? It is because of the theory of discovery and the consequent idea of colonization. There was a colonial project. Oh, by the way, I have about 10 slides. I don't know if Mr. Tzib got my thing, but if not, we'll just talk. There was a colonial project headed by the Europeans, perpetrated against the rest of the world. And under the colonial project, native languages and native cultures had to be suppressed, eliminated, if you will. So we can speak about a great replacement project to wipe us out, wipe out our culture, wipe out our languages, and replace them with those of Europe, which to them represented being cultured, civilization. And regrettably, education and religion, those two great institutions, were agents in this project. And the way it played out in Belize and elsewhere, it meant that we had to learn English. We had to learn English. Why don't you do it for me and then I give you a sign every time. Yes. Yes. We did not speak English at home when I was growing up. And even today, I'm sure that in very few homes, it is only in very few homes that English is spoken. English is spoken in formal situations, in church, in wedding ceremonies, and in, receptions, where people who can't speak English feel that they are forced to speak English instead of speaking their native language, because that means being civilized. We bought into the foolishness. So English was the only language worth being literate in. There was no effort for us to be literate in our native languages. And the interesting thing is that even though we did not speak English at home, we did not speak English in the streets, we normally did not speak English, we learned English. What does that tell us? It tells us about the power of the school as an institution. And it changed us. So, rule Britannia. That's a reference to a visit by the governor to Barranco, my home village, your grandfather's, your papa's home. He visited and he was impressed by the singing in the school, so he wrote in the logbook, singing the best in the colony I have never heard it rendered so beautifully since I left home, England. Because these little cherub picnic sing, rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. Britons never, never, never shall be slaves. What does that tell you about mentality, right? Not just language, but a state of mind. But it shows that the school was successful. Now we are independent, right? We have been self-governing since 1964, independent since 1981. Has there been any significant change? Those of you who are 𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗶, 𝐾𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐿𝐿, 𝐸𝐿𝐿, or 𝐷𝐴𝐴, are you literate in your language? Are you literate in your language? Let me hear you, yes or no? Yes. Yeah? I would like to test you. But in any case, only few people said yes. It's more comforting to just no answer. Because in which of our schools is there a concerted effort to teach us to be literate in our language? Our schools, even today, continue to devalue our language. And it's a tragedy because we even come to see it something that is abnormal as the norm. Imagine, my mother and I, my late mother and I always spoke in Garifuna. She went to primary school in Barranco. I went to school as well. But whenever I went away, I had to communicate with my mother in English. And that is supposed to be okay. We don't even think about it because we've come to accept it. I think we need to resist. We have a job to do. You and I have a job to do. To lay it bare and to do something about it. It's your ancestral language. And I won't say your native language, your mother tongue, because for a lot of us, we can only speak about those languages as our ancestral language, which give us a right to them. They're still our language, even though we don't speak them. Is your ancestral language taught here at UB? Or in any school that you have been to? And it is necessary, I believe, that at UB, we study those languages. And when I say study those languages, I don't just mean you students learning the language, studying the language. I mean that we need to study the languages. Do we know the grammar, the structure, the different aspects of the language? Do we have any linguists who are qualified to lead that work so that that work can inform our training, the training that we give our teachers, so they can then be qualified to teach 𝐾𝐞𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐿𝐿, 𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗵, 𝗤𝗏, Garifuna, and Creole. And the case of the Garifuna is particularly tragic because the case of the Garifuna is particularly tragic because we were, how many of you know that this country was educated by Garifuna teachers? Raise your hands. It has been forgotten. My father was a teacher. I was a teacher. And when I left primary school teaching in my 20s, if you had a teachers' meeting in Belize, in any of our districts, a majority were bound to be Garifuna. Ask your parents. They were taught by Garifuna teachers. Ask your grandparents. They were taught by Garifuna teachers. The tragedy is that we were agents of that colonial project. Unwitting. I was such an agent. The president's father was an agent. My father was an agent. We were teachers carrying out the will of the oppressors. So it's nothing to be happy about, nothing to celebrate. We need to wake up and realize that we were used. Even in our communities where Garifuna teachers taught, they did not teach reading and writing Garifuna because that was not their job. That is not what their employers, the state and the church, wanted them to do. And the sad thing is that this had a de-indigenizing effect on our people, forcing us to turn away from ourselves to become something else. Naipaul wrote about black skins, white masks. Yes, that was the project. Now, has anything been done about preserving native languages? Yes, there have been a few local efforts, but I would like to say that they were all band-aid measures. And when you have a big cut, you can't put a band-aid on it. You might need to suture it. You might need to put a bandage because a band-aid won't work. And that is what has been happening. There are sporadic efforts, like there was a dictionary done by St. John's College Carib language group headed by Father Bulena Leary. And they translated the hymns into Garifuna and prayers into Garifuna. There was a little book called 𝗷𝗵𝗄𝐴 Cielo, The Door to Heaven. The dictionary was a very good contribution. As a matter of fact, the dictionary that we have, published by the National Garifuna Council, called the People's Garifuna Dictionary, was based on that work. So there have been sporadic efforts, but they have not been sustained. So really, they have not made a difference. I think that there is a possibility to change all of that, but it depends on all of us. There are some general requirements. First of all, everybody concerned, all the institutions concerned must acknowledge that schooling, education, and even the church owes a historic debt to our people. 𝗷𝗲𝗃𝗻𝗄𝒻. They owe us. We are owed. Secondly, the very fact that we are comfortable with English that is not our language, we can speak, read, and write it at the highest level, even better than Englishman, attests to the power of the school. Education, schooling as an institution is very powerful. That power must be used to benefit us, our language and our culture, our languages and our cultures. From UB all the way down to kindergarten. There has to be an official language policy in this country. Where does the government stand as it relates to our languages? Don't be clapping hands and celebrating when the time comes, but don't be celebrating our diversity, linguistic and cultural diversity, but do nothing to preserve it. So there has to be a policy. Make it clear where you stand. And there are requirements for it to trickle down, all of that to trickle down and be implemented at the school level. What do we need? Very simple. Everything that is available to teach English must also be available for our native languages, because to us, our native languages are no less important than English, or any colonial language for that matter. What are some of those things? A graded curriculum. When you go to school, you have curricula, right? For the various subjects. There are supporting materials for those to teach, to deliver those curricula. Materials for the teachers, materials for the students. We don't have them for our languages. We have to have them. We have to have personnel with the relevant training so that they can produce those materials. So don't tell me that those materials do not exist and therefore we can't do anything. Develop our human resources. Give them the necessary skills so they can produce those materials. So we need linguists, we need anthropologists, and we need for them to focus on us and what is ours. We need teachers who are adequately trained to deliver those curricula. Nowadays, you have to be licensed to to be allowed to teach in a school. You have to have license. Where can you get a license to teach 𝐾𝐞𝐬? You have to have a license to teach English in post-primary. Where? So where can we get a license, and what can we do so that teachers of 𝐾𝐞𝐬 and 𝐸𝑚𝑜𝑝AN and Yucatec and Garifuna can be licensed? And don't tell me that it's not possible because we don't have the knowledge. Knowledge is, well, people can go do PhDs and so on, discover new knowledge, create new knowledge, they do research. That's how you get knowledge. You dig, you investigate, you study. And we also have to have the necessary financial resources because these things cost money. We have to do these things, and we have to not tolerate, not accept excuses. Because if we don't do these things, we can forget about the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. Because it won't mean anything, even though our government is supposed to be committed to it, as are other states. It'll mean that the UNESCO proclamation, the inscription of Garifuna language, dance, and music, that masterpiece, they say, of the oral and tangible heritage of humanity, is a waste of time. What's the point of proclaiming it? What's the point of recognizing it? And nothing is done to preserve those things. And it's left only to the people themselves to do the little they can against all odds. If we don't do those things, the UN Decade of Indigenous Languages, how many of you know that this is the United Nations Decade of Indigenous Languages? Raise your hands. We don't even know. I think we're in the second year. And a few years ago, we had the United Nations Year of Indigenous Languages. We did nothing in Belize. Yes, if we don't do those things, we will dishonor our ancestors. And the blood their blood that has been shed, the struggles that they went through so that we can still be here. We can't dishonor our ancestors. We owe it to them. We have to preserve our legacy, our language, our culture, and we, all of us, have to use whatever little power we have to persuade the powers that be. Let them know that we see. And the great thing about young people is that while we old people settle into, while we old people have a way of settling in and accepting, when young people understand that they have been chanced, they rise up. They show spirit. So I'm calling on you to rise up, show spirit, so we don't dishonor our ancestors. Sereme, Bantiosh, 𝗲𝗶𝗃, Botik. Sorry for taking so long.
Resistance in the flesh, indeed. Thank you so much. Another round of applause for Dr. Roy Cayetano, please. I was in a meeting one time with Dr. Roy, and he heard my last name, and he said, "Ms. Martinez, you can't talk Garifuna." I am unfortunately one of the descendants that was not privy to learning the language, so I hope that there is an opportunity to learn. Again, it's never too late. And I will say to you that all of these panelists up here this morning, you think that only their indigenous language they know? Absolutely not. Indigenous languages are the foundation to learn most languages. I believe some of you are privy to about 5 languages. How many of you know 2 or 3? Right? This is where we learn. So thank you once again. And I just want to remind you all that there will be a question and answer section after the panelists are done. So like I said, jot down your questions, write down your notes. These are the ones to ask the questions, right? Our next presenter is none other than Mr. Pablo Miss, a representative of the Maya Leaders Alliance of Southern Belize. Mr. Miss, a round of applause, please.
Thank you very much, Sail Cholech Chokere, Laina Pablo Miss, Ashal Usak Ulungsa ne 𝗖𝗂𝗃𝗃 𝐿𝐴𝐾 𝐴𝐶𝐻 𝐿𝐴𝐾 𝐼𝐴𝐻. Greetings, good morning. My name is Pablo Miss. I am 𝗖𝗃𝗃 from Laguna Village. It's a pleasure to be here this morning speaking with all of you about us in resistance. Now, I have 4 slides to try to keep me guided because we can keep talking. The first thing I wanted to say is we're also thriving people. And I think it's important to think of that and to speak of that very quickly. Because the day we stop existing in resistance is the day we will no longer be thriving people. Now, as we have heard from the previous presenters, there are 2 things that I'd like to build my presentation on. The first is that a society without culture is a soulless society. Let's think about that. A very profound statement, I think. The other statement that I took away from Brother Roy, he asks us which school is actually teaching us our language right now. Essentially, he was telling us that we have become comfortable being a part, being a parcel of institutions that are actually trying to have us not resist so that we can settle, take away our soul, essentially, as a people and as a society. So this morning, I'll talk to you a little bit in very simple terms of the experience that the Maya people of southern Belize have had in the larger context of the work that they're engaged in. And the focus will be on the power of language in all of this. 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝐬𝐢𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐧𝐜𝐞 𝐃𝐚𝐲 𝗔𝗱𝗃 sa bar 𝗂𝗄𝗃 Chiruli na 𝐏𝗏 bar 𝗘𝗶𝗃 𝗘𝗶𝗴𝗵𝗶 𝗘𝗵𝗴𝗵𝗔 𝗘𝗵𝗃𝗃 nakanawkip 𝗘𝗵𝗃𝗃 nakatawiru likahom 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 nahkeke 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 nahkeke rena nakatawiru aniho 𝗏𝗵𝗃𝗃 rena toruk 𝗂𝗄𝗃 𝗏𝗵𝗃𝗃 reutan toruk 𝗂𝗄𝗃 sa komonil 𝗏𝗵𝗃𝗃 sa usilal 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 haan kamahun richmul barkwi na hoyechak linalep linikeshnaw lechek ut linashik reheb litoh-kokeb. So the power of our language. Language, through the words that comes out of our mouth, is formed and it flows from the place we know to be. It grounds us in terms of how we understand ourselves, in terms of how we define our purpose, our existence, our role, our essence in this complex life that we find ourselves in. It makes us understand each other. And by understanding each other, we can build relationship. And by building relationship, we can have caring communities. Language, let's think of it as one of the main arteries, the veins. And it is through that information, knowledge, flows from the knowledge holders, the elders, to the young people. We can go on and talk about how important language is, but I wanted to start off by sharing those few things in the context of the work we do in Toledo. This is what language means to us as a part of that work. Next slide, please. Now, we already heard that we exist in very contentious spaces, we exist in resistance. So our language, as we heard as well, through established institutions, have struggled to remain with us. And I'll give you a few examples. I recall an experience right here in the capital of this country, a high-level meeting happening. And our leader said, I will speak in my language because I do not want to be misunderstood using a borrowed language. And the immediate response was, this is Belize, we speak in English. Now I share with you that just to say that indeed we exist in resistance. And the simple response is that it is okay to speak our language. We need to normalize being able to speak our language. In our work, many of you who have accompanied us in the work we do, our meetings are in our language. Whether it is 𝗥𝗍 𝗬𝗲𝗃. You come to our office, our conversation in the office is in our language. Our greetings for people is in our language. It has been difficult sometimes to speak your language in public spaces. Things are changing. It has become much more comfortable now. But there was a time when it was difficult. As a young person in high school, for instance, you get bullied for speaking your language. Just as you get bullied for eating your corn tortilla for lunch in school too, in high school. So we have existed in resistance. But it is important for all of us to understand, particularly our young people. It is okay to speak our language. Nobody has to give us permission to speak our language. There's been great advancement now, as Brother Roy have mentioned, that has been promoting the right for us to be able to speak our language. So language in this context has been profound for us in the work we do with communities. We've normalized speaking our language. The second thing I wanted to talk about is to be able to recover names, titles, concepts. A lot of you hear of village meeting in Toledo, true? These people, they like to take Langman, they say. In fact, it is criticized. But you know what actually the title for a village meeting is in 𝐶𝐞𝐬? Anybody from the audience? 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐶. Now, those of us who know 𝐶𝐞𝐬, what does 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐶 mean? Does it mean village meeting? What does 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐶 mean? Anybody? Listening. So essentially, when you say 𝐶𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐶, I am going to listen. So if all of us came here to the 𝐴𝐵𝐴𝐵𝐶 to listen, it means that if we have caring communities, we should be able to listen to each other. In essence, that's what we came for. But we lose the essence of these practices, of these concepts, because it has been normalized as well that the village meeting, the chair is in charge. The chair determines whether you talk or not talk. So concepts, titles, names in our language is very important. I have 2 children. I asked my father, for instance, why did you name me Pablo? He says, well, I turned the Bible. The first thing I saw was Pablo, so I said, we should name him Pablo. My son's name is 𝐾𝐬𝗄. 𝐾𝐬𝗄 means, in our language, strength. So every day I wake up and I see this young man, it gives me a profound sense of pride beyond just the physical seeing of my son, because what he means is much more. And I try to capture that in the name he has, and every time I see him. Maybe that's one way to deepen our love for one another, care for one another. We also hear, for instance, of other titles like 𝐴𝐶𝐝. What is 𝐏𝐶𝐝? Now, I hope you're listening now. I'm doing a quiz after this. 𝐏𝐶𝐝, essentially, when you reach a village, you will ask, 𝐏𝐶𝐝, who is the leader of the village? But 𝐏𝐶𝐝, literally translated, is the person who is supposed to be at the head of the trail, opening the trail for you, so that you can walk behind. It didn't say it's the man in charge of the village. Point I am making is that there is a need for us to also begin recovering titles, concepts, names, because if our language is a part of what gives us soul, and in resisting, we know that the very thing they're taking away from us is our soul, then let's go back to do the little things. Because you try to ask the government to change a policy. That's a whole complicated thing. In fact, that's another institution that's already outside of the control of community. It's important there, but we must start also at the community level. Last thing I wanted to mention here is translation. See, I'm reminding myself of time. There was a time when translation was that it must be translated from English to 𝗥𝗄𝐿. In other words, if we came to a meeting, we had to bring our translator. Why does it have to be a burden on us? Now, everybody who arranges a meeting with us know that our meeting will be in 𝗥𝗄𝐿. Even if it's in Belmopan, you have to find your translation. These are some of the small ways in which we can empower a people to utilize the things that gives them meaning, to be able to build relationships, to be able to see beyond the complexities. Because the other thing I always say is this: I have been very fortunate to speak my language. I sit a lot of times trying to understand and to feel what does it feel like to not speak your language. Because those of us perhaps that speak our language, I don't know if it's the same thing you go through, but for me, a lot of times I feel myself processing what I'm hearing and what I want to say in my language first before I say it in English. So I can never imagine, and I could never know what it means to not speak our language. But I think that language allows us to be able to be in control of what we're thinking. It allows us to be in control of saying what we mean to say. And it also allows us to be in control of understanding the complexities and our realities and finding ways forward as a people. And there are many other little things. For instance, today I want to just draw your attention to young people utilizing technology. As Brother Roy mentioned, there's a booth outside where we have some young people that we brought who are capturing stories, who are telling their own stories using their language and not being pressured by English. So I invite you to please join them after this session to listen to them. Just to say, Banjosh, we are a thriving people. The day we stop resisting, the day we are no longer in resistance, is the day we will stop being thriving people. Thank you very much. Banjosh.
Thank you so much, Mr. Miss. I think that when we're talking about resistance, and I really want to highlight the Inon Maya Club that is here, and I know you'll hear from your advisor in just a moment, but one of the reasons why that club was even established was exactly that. I want to be able to speak my language freely in a public space that does not seem to accept me. And so I hope that after today we start to see those profound changes. Plus, I will always bring my contour tea and salt because that's just nice. Our third panelist is no stranger to us, Miss Felicita Cantun of the Northern Maya Association of Belize and the reviver of the Pok-ta-Pok Maya ball game.
Malopkin in wet Kambalesh, Bish Anikesh, in Kabaye, Felicita Cantun, Tene Mayaen, in Kahale Yokrik, Tene Huntul Shunan, Yanen Ichil Northern Maya Association. Le much winikob yetelkolelob chumpahil ichiluhabil 2017 behlae talen ti noh kambal kuchila le 𝗏𝗏𝐿𝐷 University of Belize. Utial aksikbal bash tenku satal le mayat ano. Tak behlae kukahalten bishmakob kualikob le mayat an makabet bil. Mishbal malob kuyantal tech wamantats at anik le mayat ano. Le betike ak nanat silob yetel ak tatat silob ma tu betikob ak kaniktan maya. Beshan uk ahalten le ahkan saob ku hatskon ku topkon chen tumen at anik maya ichil aknahil shok. Le betike tene ma suklaken imbukintik in wipil interno ma sublaken in tanik maya ma sublaken in alik titulakal makobianilobo waye tene kin hantik kutbil ik yetel abashbul yetel wahil ishim tene kin okotik harana zapateado tene yantenle 𝗔𝗵𝗲𝗀 𝗔𝗵𝗲𝗀 kubashik le 𝗔𝗵𝗲𝗀 pok le betike ma ak patkaba tene yanin kaansik mayatan ti champalalob ichil in chankahil yokrik. No one is clapping. I know why, because I heard somebody kind of laugh when I said abashbul. That means he understood what I was saying. Now, I said that, first I said good morning to everybody, and I said who I am, from where I come from. I said I am here at this university just to talk why Mayatan is disappearing. I can still remember how people used to tell me, le Mayatan makabet bil. Aquello que hablas, el idioma maya. Oh, sorry. No es necesario. It's not needed. Your language is not needed. You won't ever go anywhere if you continue speaking your language every time. That's what they told me. I also remember the teachers. I don't know if his father was one, but they used to hatskon, to beat us, to topkon. They gave us hard. Well, they never gave me, but I remember they used to do that to the other. Why? Just because we were talking our Mayatan. I would say they were cruel. Man, when you go home, and they used to use a rope, and they had you like this, and then when they beat you, it's not only the palm of your hand, even up to here. And when you go home, you have that big mark or on the back. But then, as he said, they were doing their duty. They had to teach in English. But that was why 𝗓𝗵𝗵𝗃 𝐶𝐿oob, 𝗓𝗲𝗃 𝐶𝐿oob, mothers and fathers, well, they just kind of not encouraged us to speak our language. But I don't know. I am Felicita Kokom. This canton I got from my husband when I married, but I am Kokom. And nobody could stop me from speaking my language. Anywhere I go, I meet, I know you can speak my language, in the bus, at the park, anywhere, I will speak my language. Unfortunately, there are very few people who can speak it. That is why. And I said that I am just Felicita Kokom. I don't care coming into the bus with my whipil, with my terno. I was in Europe, in Spain, Italy, Francia, and I was walking with my ipil. I don't care. Anyway. And I said, I am not ashamed of telling the whole world that I eat the 𝗬𝗄𝐵𝐸𝐾. You know, it's the pepper that they would roast on the fire, and then they would mash it like this. Oh my God. And squeeze sour orange on it. Oh my God. And I eat it with 𝗕𝗲𝗃𝗃. That's black beans that is boiled. Oh. And plus with handmade corn tortillas. That's the best. Okay. I am not afraid to dance the jaranas, to dance the zapateados, nor I am not ashamed that I revived the Mayan ball game, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, here in Belize. That is why in December 7th to the 10th, Belize is going to host the international tournament. 7 teams are coming. Each country, all the Mundo Mayan countries, Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, plus Panama and the United States, they're coming with 2 male teams and 1 female team. But I am the coordinator. That is costing $223,500,000. But it will happen. It will happen. And then all of you are invited. Now, and that is why us at the Northern Maya Association, we make sure that we pass our knowledge to especially the youths and the children. Because the youths, well, I won't say they are the future of tomorrow. She said they are the future of tomorrow. I say they are our future now. 𝗏𝗏𝗃, now. Don't wait for tomorrow for you to be a leader. Be a leader now. 𝗏𝗏𝗃. Okay, that's it's no problem for you because it's in English. So it says, what happened? tin chumbes in 𝐾𝐴NZIC lemayat ano ti uhabil 2005. That was when I started, I mean formally in a little group. Because before, but it wasn't anything formal. But in 2005, that was when I started teaching the Maya Yucatec. Next. Okay. Chin utsibolil ka mishbikin ushulul le mayat ano. And why? Why? It's just because I had this desire that our Maya language would keep on living. That was why I do this thing. My husband says, no tienes nada que hacer. You don't have anything to do. And yes, I say, I don't have anything to do. I have worked for 40 years, so now I will do what I want to do. When I was working for 40 years, I had to do what the boss wanted me to do. But now, yo hago lo que yo quiera, ¿cómo? I was not looking at the pictures. King 𝐾𝐴NZIC to 𝐾𝐴Tule 𝐵𝐴LALILOB. 𝗔𝗱𝗵𝗶. I teach both male and female students. And I teach them in different ways. We teach them using music, using singing, using embroidery. We have a little group of children, 7 to 12 years, and they had to embroider their own huipil, and the boys their own guayaberas. At the beginning, the girls, well, they were okay, but then the boys say, Maestra, I cannot do that. And I said, who said you cannot do it? Show me your fingers. 5 fingers for the girls. So I got the mamas had to buy the shirt, but I had to get the hoops, the thread, the needle, and guess what? Beautiful guayaberas done by themselves. And they feel so proud that they did it themselves, both male and female. Don't be afraid to clap. No se cobra. Those who don't clap, no water after the presentation. Okay. Uhabil lekamba loob ichil uk lahun. The age of my students are between 7 to 14 years, and classes in Shok na liloob, kukushta loob, ti in Chankahal, Yellow Creek. And all of them live in Yellow Creek. But I said there that it's 7 to 14 years. But even students from UB, even students from the junior colleges, they say, Miss, can you please help me to translate this in Maya? Well, I do it. But then I think I will start to. No, I do it with my whole heart, because I do not want this language to just disappear. So, 𝗏𝐾𝐴NZIC, chen ku uchul leken le pala liloob, matun binoob tu nahil shok. This, the teaching happens whenever children are out of school. But whenever I am invited to go to schools, well, I still go. Tulaka le kambe sahil, 𝗵𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗵. Chenten manik le nukul kabet utial le kambal. And this all classes are free of cost. Personally, I personally buy all the materials needed for these classes. So I think that is why your creek is known as the cuna. La cuna del 𝗏𝗏𝗃, la cuna del Maya, la cuna de you know what is cuna? The cradle. So where, Okay. Tene kintushtik tu lakalbash kabet. Tene kintuklik, yo pienso. Tene kintuklik tu lakalbash kabet. Kans bil ichil mayatan, hach kabet u beikunsa hach utial, bash kabet, tile palalob kushokob. Yetel ka umento kaholil, mashilob, beishan, kayanak, hehelas meyahil. So I think that children will not learn if they are not interested. If as they used to tell me, mayat and makabet bill, it's not necessary. But in my classes, I make it interactive with them. We sing, we dance, we do drama, we do these things. So I tell the children, okay, 4 o'clock. 2 o'clock, they are there by my gate. And one thing, as soon as they step through the gate, no Creole, no English, Maya, or at least Spanish. And they know. Sometimes they want to speak Creole or English amongst themselves. And say, no, teacher says no. See, but we have to insist. We have to insist. And what else? Oh. Tin ila, lekening kansikle mayat anok, hach kabet it mentik o seten yala let ano, utial kapahtal o 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 𝗵𝗵𝗶 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏. So the teaching of the Maya language takes a lot of repetition, because unfortunately, at home, when they leave, they go out through my gate. That's it, until tomorrow again. We do not have anyone with whom they can practice at home. So whenever I am teaching, I do lots of repetition. For example, we teach, whenever we have the chalupas. Everybody knows what is chalupa. We have it in Maya. So whenever, that's repetition. And the songs that we teach, it's repetition. So anything else for me to say? Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Anyone? Mishmak? Utial ka leshok nalob, upahtal umalob kanikob letanob, tin ila ay sa tin ila kabet imbentik betik useten yala letano le betike tin ila hach kabet bil in kashtik ulag bish ubetal baal utial ak antal le palalob beyo balob be kayob yetel tanob be shan bashalob. I saw the need not just to repeat, not just for me to have the children repeating. No, if I want them to teach them parts of the head, okay, this cabeza in Maya Yucatec is Paul. So instead of pull, pull, pull. We sing. The eyes, ojos, no, itch, no. Instead of having them just repeat, 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 we sing. So for example, to teach the body parts, I say, yanten, 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 that's I have. See, we have already repeated 3 times. I have. Yanten, 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 yanten humpel pol. I have a head. Yantel kapel shikin. Yantel kapel ich. Yanten humpel ni. Yanten humpel chi. Yantel yabachko. Utialin malob hanal. Utialin malob hanal. So singing and singing catchy little tunes. The children learn, oh, it says Paul. Oh, this is shikin. This is ich. Ni. Ko. Dientes. So that is as part of the Northern Maya Association. I am so happy to be able to do what I do. And I am so happy that you all are here. And I am not just going to answer questions. I have prizes for you. Thank you very much. Unib Olal.
That's how you know she was a teacher. Incentive for the students. We're going to take a short intermission with a cultural interlude by Miss Emily Martinez. Miss Emily, you here? She will grace us with a poem called I Think I See a New Belize. And Miss Emily is also a lovely language teacher at the Helping Hands Center, where she teaches Garifuna every day? Every Saturday in the afternoon. I know Miss Emily might teach a long time. Ready, Miss Em?
Aba poem hulida English. I think I see one new Belize by Philip Lewis. I think I see one new Belize. The Garifuna, the Maya, not separate as I list them, but instead all the Belizean. All are with a one the Creole man say. Todos son hermanos. Así dice el mestizo, Buffalo Garifuna. I wonder what they mean when the Mayan man say, Kotenwaye, the temple I will show you. Who say? Me say, Kuli Indian Nore, Gora Punto Gorda, check out Yabra, the smell that no sere, that a curry and white rice with meat and some good bush. Climb on the mule and cart, and if you know where go, where the hell we going to push it? This year time that not like before time. Remember when we couldn't see? Now we move the thing from half our eye and get up half our knee. All away the one I say, ¿Qué pasa? You want to hear me big black mouth and me lot of brains? Look here, brah. The time for say one new Belize.
think we have to get next poem, Miss M. Our next half of our panel presentation will first begin with Mr. 𝗟𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴. I am about to butcher this really badly. 𝗘𝗲𝗃𝗄𝗄𝗃 Maya Cultural Program. Mr. 𝗟𝐴𝐿𝐴𝐿𝐴. Let's give him a round of applause.
Dioses 𝗤𝗄𝗃 𝐷𝐞𝐬 𝐲𝗄𝗃. Pleasant good morning. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I know it's been long, but well worth it receiving and being educated from some very powerful men here and well-informed presentation about our culture, continuing to resist. Men and women, that's right. Easy. All right, let me... Ink aba Aurelio show in wheel yaba makawili neshe kenen waye yoklal ukich panil ti kustal ukich panil ti an mopan maya kichpan tuba watakon ti kal ti hanal ti son ti tsikbal ti nok bona tanoy usarbel a lebelehi kin wol I muntaka a kenen waye ti tayameshe ti kin hutsu ti tesh bono kich panila da ti kustal I a lebele kabie a belenki mete a lebele a wele shilik ti ahab ichil ti manak ohanila COVID-19 te inkasa humpela a meyah topachu u salbul upach te kustal ukaba koosh ti okot 𝗬𝗃𝗃 porque walak likin an 𝗧𝗵𝗃𝗃 etel 𝗧𝗵𝗃 yucatec I balolik ichelin sikbal ishmupan maya. Once again, a very pleasant good morning. I want to start I want to focus my presentation with an ongoing program that started in 2020 because of COVID-19. And I believe that we are transmitters of traditional knowledge. We are the ones that are carrying the torch of culture. And it is important that we safeguard, and by safeguarding, we use whatever medium possible to transmit these knowledge. And so I came up with a very catchy phrase called 𝗤𝗄𝗃. If I tell you 𝗤𝗄𝗃 means let us dance. In 𝐾𝐶 means 𝗤𝗄𝗃, let's dance. So when we talk about that, you know, when I travel all over Belize, all over the country, and I go to Toledo, people call me no longer by my name, they call me 𝗤𝗄𝗃. Right? So ways of strengthening our identity. Before I continue, go back to that slide. I want you all to learn this. 𝗏𝗏𝐿𝐴 𝐴𝐶𝐶 𝐢𝐿𝐴. 𝗏𝗏𝐿𝐴 𝐴𝐶𝐶 𝐢𝐿𝐴. It means Happy Indigenous Resistance Day. So you must learn that. And I want to thank the organizers for having this, but honestly, this should be every day. You know, our way of life is every day, because from the fact we wake up in the morning, you know, what energizes us. And I want to go back to a very powerful statement my colleague, Mr. Pablo Miss, shared. I have a 17-year-old son, and his name, I have 3 children. His name is 𝗬𝗃𝗃𝗄. My daughter's name is Sastal, a 12-year-old girl, and a 10-year-old son named 𝗥𝗃. So when you put these together, they are the true meaning of why I find it more important to safeguard our language, right? Because my name is Aurelio, like what he said, back in Toledo, our parents name us by the Spanish calendars, the Bible, and other Spanish influence, and much more within our language, the Mopan Maya language, and I believe the 𝐾𝐶 Maya language, it has a strong Spanish influence. Okay, so all of that gives me more pride to take ownership of my culture. So Utzil means, it's a Yucatec Maya word. It means equilibrium in nature, where everything harmonizes, right? And Sastal means dan. You see, when the dan, just before sunlight, appears. And Kanek means 4-star. Ek is star in Yucatec Maya. My wife is a Yucatec Maya woman. And Kun is 4. So Kanek, 4 stars, or the king serpent in the Maya days, in the rich Maya civilization days. So I want to start by ways of strengthening our identity is to add appreciation to the traditional knowledge and skills in the areas of music, dance, history, and most of all, our language. Because language is the most powerful weapon that we as a people have. At least we can still speak it right now, a very few, much less if we don't speak it, and we're losing it every day, every second, we're losing it. Why? Because we're not speaking it. We're not talking it. We're ashamed to speak our language. And I challenge everyone. I know wherever I meet a Maya-looking individual, I either say Dios, because that goes across Mopan and 𝐾𝐶. Dios, masala chol, Dios, makech, wala kwat sikbal ichilitan. You identify yourself, and that is a way how we greet each other. And that started to, next, I think I'm way ahead of this presentation. Yeah. So now Titan, I want you to learn that also. It means language. Titan. All right. I am fortunate to learn to read and write. I would say a little, because it is very broad and complex. To learn and write, to read and write the Mopan Maya language. Okay. From the Academias Lenguas Mayas de Guatemala, and I took further training as a trainer so I could teach my fellow Maya brothers and sisters. Next. And so we have food, tihanal. I want you to learn that. Tihanal. Food. You see caldo there too, and it's just before lunch. What a mistake. All right? So let's continue. I'm going to go quickly. Hanal Pishan, that is Inil Pishan Yawatak Sien Uchulukale Bele. The time is coming very close, right around the corner. Next. Next slide. Okay, the son Kati okote, the marimba, the arpa, the shoal. That is what defines our culture. That is our music. When we hear the beautiful melody of the marimba music, the sacred instrument, that like when you hear the drumming, Mr. Palacio, right? Dr. Palacio, you feel that sense of belonging. When you hear the echoes of that beautiful marimba being played, wow, it brings joy to you. So that all of this combined together allow me to start 𝐾𝐲𝗄𝗏 Toshahok Maya Cultural Program. Okay. Next. Now our traditional dress, tinok, pik, shokbil chui, kamisa. This is how our beautiful Maya women dress, Mopan Maya women, and I see the individual from that picture is right here in this building. You know, I'm happy to see her because this event calls her a sense of belonging, okay? So, you know that like 20 or more years ago, I started wearing my traditional clothing from high school days. But again, we receive a lot of bullying. People bully you. Say, boy, what kind of thing that way to try to do? Right? But we never give up, and I still wear it up to today, you know. And now there's emerging businesses that are selling it at a very high price. You know, when our local women, our grandparents teach our children, our daughters to do the very same 𝗧𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗃, right? They teach us for a reason. They teach them for a reason so that they could stitch it, produce it, and put it on their clothing so that they could wear it. That gives you a sign of pride because our culture is so unique. Okay? Next. And we believe in the Maya spirituality. And some of the contributing factors to why our culture is degrading is because of religion. And other factors to think about would be some of the systems in place, you know, the school systems, because we can't speak our very own language. We should feel free to speak our language wherever we are, okay? We believe in asking permission to the sacred mountains and valleys, Santo Wits, Santo Hawk. We believe in that. And burning our kopal incense for purification, for blessing. Right? 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗵𝗃 lekadak abeti tono, lekada 𝗬𝗵𝗃 tono. Okay? And I want to challenge all of you. I hope that you have at least censario, incense burner in your home, because time and again, you know, you need to go back to purify yourself from all of the negative energies. You know, sometimes we cross paths that are not too well with energies, and you go home, you burn your kopal, you ask the great 𝗲𝗷, thank you for life. You ask Mother Earth for gratitude. You pay Mother Earth gratitude for the food, where our house, the structure of our house is built. You know, so all of this is the Maya way of life. Next. And the dances, the sacred Maya deer dance, you know, that is also, they're also showing resistance. And that is quite evident in these dances, right? The sacred Maya deer dance. We have the animals. We have the young dog, the grandparent, the grandmother, or the old man, or the old lady in the dance. They are the ones that are harmonizing that harmonious relationship that mankind should have between humans and the animals of the forest. Okay. Next. And also resistance in the Cortez dance. You know, when the period of Herman Cortez, you know, a dance came out of that, you know, where they are baptizing all the Mayan high priests, communities, but there is still one person who refused, right? And that is what we are doing today. We refuse we continue to resist, right? And even through our dances, you know, it's quite evident, right? The 𝗏𝗏𝗃. And we also live, our way of life is through the Maya values. The Maya values teaches us a very unique and fundamental way of how we should live. Each and every one of us born with a star, a mission here on earth. You could see why Josh Arana played the drum so dynamically with the passion, the love. Like, I can't do that, you know. You see someone who speaks well, good writer, a scribe, right? You see someone who a bush doctor, a traditional healer, or a doctor in the hospitals, the conventional institutions, you know, they have a special gift from the great 𝗏𝗏, right? And that itself is very special. And the Maya way of life is just as simple as that. When we say, we need to be true to our words. When I say I'm going to come and do a presentation and share a little bit of the knowledge that I know that have been passed on to us, I mark my word and I am here today. Okay? And that itself is all the teachings of our parents, of our grandparents, the Maya way of life. You know, all these. Next, I filled up my presentation with beautiful pictures because I'll come to it. I'll come to that yet. Why? Because I believe it is important that we start to capture everything around us, around our home. Because nowadays we have a lot of phones that takes good picture or a camera. We need to start to document. Have I not taken these pictures? These pictures are at least 10 years old. That's the tradition, our customs, documenting our customs, our tradition. The elder there is doing 𝗏𝗏𝗾𝐿. That's how they make their own candle. How many of us are still have seen that, experienced that, or can do that? All right. So that is why I am transitioning now to why I have all these slides. And when you work together, 𝗵𝗂𝗃𝐿, building the thatch houses. 𝗵𝗂𝗃𝐿, a sense of unity. It's a Maya way of life, Maya value, right? 𝗵𝗏𝗛𝐿, when all the women, when you see today we're all here today, you're listening. So one person is talking, you're retaining information. You know, some of us are smiling because we say that I know that, you know, and someday, and that is how we continue to share and preserve what we have. Okay, so a little bit, we have traditional knowledge, 𝗵𝗏𝗏, 𝗵𝗏, 𝗖𝗏𝗏. You know what is 𝗖𝗏𝗏? Ba is this underground animal, the ground mole. You know, from a very young boy, you know, my father go to the, you know, so we see a lot of our planting, they tipped over. And you know what? I have a cure for that man. He say, you know, we find a stick, wire, and they teach you how to do it. And then the following day or early in the evening, you see they chop up and you go take it out and really ground mold there. That is traditional knowledge, you see. And we know we don't let that go to waste. That is a hot stew, caldo. We roast it. And then the guts, you put it in a lancha because that's vegetarian. You know, the animal in a vegetarian eat alone, trees and roots and so on. And you lancha that to hanal achahan 𝗪𝗏𝗃, we say it in Mopan. Right? Anyways, so all of that. Again, you know, just another beautiful landscape of our community in Toledo. Toledo. Okay, so again, going back, so 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝐿 became a reality in 2019 because of the pandemic. I said I'm becoming too bored. You know, I spent 12 years of my life, one of the founding members of 𝗏𝗏𝗃 community radio station in Toledo district at 𝗏𝗏𝗃 Center of Learning. You know, and it is a calling for me to be in the media industry and to use that as a tool to transmit our way of life, the Maya way of life. Okay? And with the logo there, you see, let me just explain a little bit of my logo there. The sacred mountains, Santo Wit, Santo Hawk, is the big mountains there, and that's a real picture from Blue Creek. I put the Maya communities, we put the harp there, we have the marimba and the 4 colors of our corn. We are from the corn, right? and of course a Maya woman, and I need to put a 𝗥𝐶 Maya woman there and a Yucatec Maya woman. Very soon we need to upgrade that, okay? So now, what I want to bring your attention to is digital activism. That is why I've made my presentation very colorful. Okay, each and every one of our presenters here today have a different perspective of how they see and relate to you their information of how they could safeguard language. Okay, so I want to draw your attention to digital activism, and I want to call each and every one of you here to start do something by as simple as taking picture of your mother doing the corn tortilla, your father splitting the firewood, right? Tula kalon abet ti kati mucheshu boy ti kustal 𝗖𝗂𝗋𝗃 kwatano yuchul san samala, you know. So and that can happen through the use of modern ways of communication through Facebook. We need more people like Mr. Juan Caal, who is capturing Maya stuff in Belize, Maya culture in Belize, the food, the language, the music, the arts, you know, and everything. You know, we need more people like that. We need, you know, this is not a, I'm doing this not because of that I should, or because of fame or whatever. It is an obligation. It is my responsibility as a Maya father, because my children are right next door coming up, and they are the ones that will be taking over and continuing to transmit the knowledge that we learn from our parents. Our culture is not written. We live it as children. Okay? So, and it is unique. And one ways of doing that, this is how you embrace contemporary communication, means of communication. We use YouTube. You could use Facebook. And I want to go quickly to this. So popular, this is 2022. I think they have, must say, I don't know where Facebook is ranked right now, but 2022 last year, Facebook is ranked at number 1. YouTube, we have WhatsApp, Instagram, WeChat, Messenger, and TikTok. All we got TikTok, sure? Right? We shouldn't only base ourselves to do like, I know some of we like go after the hook a little bit, right? But, you know, let's capture something meaningful, okay? And how do you accomplish this? We simply need, you need a computer or a cell phone, right? You need Wi-Fi. Right now, Digicel said and they brag about cheap data. Let's take advantage of that, right? And it needs dedication, right? We need software. These are just a few softwares that we have: StreamYards, Manicam, OBS Studio, vMix, etc., right? And I again challenge the young people here, because this is your time, this is your era, and we're here at our national university where they should, by now, Dr. Palacio, I think we need a program in communication, because we need to equip these young brains, these young leaders to take and document and to move the work in a better platform and understanding. No? And a little bit about my show. I've made some. I did a little. I got some feedback that you look at the audience again. You know, we have 60% of the audience tune in that are 30 to 50 years old. 40% are 18 to 25 years old. It's interesting, right? Just a quick, a little research there that we've did on it, no? I've done on it. Okay, and how do you do that now? You could do that through entertainment, like what we're doing, what I am doing, and you could do it music and request. You could send greetings to your family, to a fellow classmate, whatever. You could do it through radio novella, soap operas, oral stories, interviews, podcasts, and even sharing some nice lancha recipe, right? And capture community festivals and home celebrations, right? At home, okay? And the next step, at least for me here, is to create programs and share more programs online. And we're doing this to do more Maya translation in our language, because our theme this morning is about language and preserving, safeguarding that in particular. To create live shows in different countries, showcasing different cultures, and that is how we could share our experiences together. So I want to leave you with this information. 𝐾 𝐿𝑇 my fellow Maya brothers and sisters, let us not forget that each one of us have a unique culture. This is a representation of our way of life, and it is made up of food, music, values, traditions, and all the sacred teachings that have been passed on to us by our parents and grandparents through our language. We are at the verge of losing these important elements. Join us in reclaiming and revitalizing our Maya identity by speaking our traditional knowledge. Don't be ashamed. Feel proud to speak it everywhere, anywhere, word by word. Together, we can all preserve our cultural knowledge that are held together by our language. Thank you very much.
Sometimes I see Aurelio live streaming just music, just marimba music, just because. Thank you, Aurelio. And our next panelist, I know it's almost close to the hour, but we have two more wonderful panelists to go. And I would like to ask Mrs. Adela Vallegos from the To'one Masewalon organization to give us her presentation. A round of applause for Ms. Adela, please.
Thank you. Maalopkin titula kalesh, tene inkavaye Adela, tene upolile muchilku kabatik tone masewalon. Kima koral mentun ti aneshwaye. Good morning to all of you. My name is Adela, and I am the lead person for Tone Masewalon. And I'm very happy that you are all here with us today. I'm also very honored to be part of this distinguished panel and to share with you a little bit about our work in the north of Belize of Tone Masewalon. Means we are Maya. So every time we say the name of our organization, we are proudly declaring our identity. I hope you can see more than just my head. This podium is not set up for little dynamos. So my walk with Tone Masewalon just fell in because, as someone says, it's the path that you have to take in life. And I came back to Belize. My professional work is as a crisis care, hospice care nurse. For those of you who are not aware of that, is a person specialized in palliative care and taking care of those who are dying at the end of their life. And I did that for 10 years, so I have a lot of experience in that. But one of the things I learned in that specialty is that language is vitally important. A person may speak 6 languages, but at the time that they're going to depart this earth, they revert to their original language. And that's what happened to me. My mother was on her last days, and I came back to Belize to take care of her. And she was in the hospital, and she would speak to me in Maya, and I would respond in the little Maya that I knew. And she just got this biggest smile. And here I returned back to my work in the United States with 2 dreams. I said, if God gives me the will, I will come back and dedicate 1 year of my life to serve my country. And during that time, I'm going to learn the language of my mother. So I've been very blessed to be able to do that. I came back, and in the first year I went into the village, I said, please teach me 𝐸𝐸𝗃. And I went to 6 different people before I finally got a bold lady that said, I do not read or write, but I will teach you what I know. And that's how I started to learn. Little by little, I learned the 𝐸𝐸𝗃 language. I am still not fluent, but I want to say something in 𝐸𝐸𝗃. 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗃. Little by little, you will learn. So don't despair. If you have the intention, you will learn. And then also, my walk took me to three old guys. They're wonderful old guys. Mr. Roy Rodriguez, Faustino Yam, and another who has passed on. But these 3 cronies of mine, they said, Mr. Della, I've always had this passion to formalize a group to revive the 𝐸𝐸𝗃 language. I said, I know how to make a group. I will teach you, but I'm going back to the United States in 6 months. So you got 6 months to learn the thing, man. And they said, okay, great. And when it was time to elect the directors, they said, Mr. Della, we want you to be the leader. And I said, you set me up. So that 1-year commitment has turned into 7 years commitment, and I'm very proud to be the president of 𝐷𝗵𝗃 Wallon. So I will hopscotch through the many things that we have done over the last 7 years. On the slide, you will see just the things that we have done only in this year. We are a very dynamic group, so if you want to know everything that we do, please follow us on Facebook. That's the only way you will know. But I want to take a moment to tell you about our mission statement. Pretty much it is to leave a lasting legacy for the future generations of Belize, to create a community where the focus is one of brotherhood. All families live harmoniously with each other, and generosity is an innate expression of our character. We learn to live in harmony with nature and each other while expressing a profound respect and love for Mother Earth and other human beings. All generations are linked in the language of the Maya, and each individual exudes confidence and pride of their Maya ancestry. A very bold mission statement, and so that means it takes a lot of work to accomplish that. But I want to say, if you're ravenous with appetite, you don't take a plate of rice and beans and you say, I want to eat this little bit. You eat the whole thing. So that's what we did. We look at all the different aspects of a culture, and we just systematically just approach every aspect of the culture. And that's what makes us very productive currently. The most important part for us is the Maya spirituality. We all learned the spirituality, and now we pass it down to our children. The top picture shows us in Carrillo Puerto this summer, where we commiserated with our brothers of Carrillo Puerto, Guatemala, and the United States. And here this summer, our children had a workshop at our temple of Adventura, where they learned how to do the work of the archaeologists, and we also started with our spiritual ceremony. The third slide shows us having, for the first time at the Chactamal Maya temple, the sacred ceremony of El Fuego Sagrado, which just occurred on Monday, which was Indigenous Peoples Resistance Day. And it was the first time in many, 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 many years, I can't go back, that this ceremony had been performed on that site. Next slide, please. So the language is very important, and from the first year, we have had language schools at the House of Culture. Even during COVID, we had language schools. And this year, we had a class for the adults at the House of Culture, followed by a class for the children in 𝗙i̱. And it's the first time that we came out with a booklet for the children, and this booklet is almost complete. The only thing we have to do is it's in Maya, and now we're going to add English and Spanish to it. So it will be in 3 languages, and then we're going to take it to copywriting, and it's going to be the first time we have a booklet for children in northern Belize. Next slide, please. You can applaud, yes. And of course, the attire is so important. So we wear our attire everywhere we go, and now I can hear the men in the street, they say, that nice, that nice. Yes. So being in action in the area of food, maybe many of you may have gone to 𝗖𝗵𝗲 if you stopped in at the 𝗲𝗵𝗃 𝐸𝐾𝐸 cuisine place. Doña Genara may have cooked delicious foods for you, but you can also come there and learn how to cook the 𝐸𝐾𝐸 way. And that is completely funded by our efforts. Next. We also have our dancers, the 𝗧𝗵𝗲𝗀 dancers. These dancers are very special in that they came to us and said, we want to learn the 𝐸𝐾𝐸 language. So that's what we do. We teach them to dance and also to speak the language. We have our brother Andy Chook, who took it upon himself to present the various folklore of the 𝐸𝐾𝐸 language. And you can find those all on the internet, but these are all about the 𝐸𝐾𝐸. The 𝐾𝐸𝐴𝑠 lake, it's about the wind. It's a wind. And then the other one, the 𝐾𝐸𝐴𝑠 is about negative energy. Negative energy. Sometimes people are oppressed with negative energy and they don't know about it. You know, if you're having some depression, some anger, all those things are negative energies. So there's a folklore that goes with it. We are very much set in preserving the traditions of our ancestors. Currently, I am in coordination with the Belize Tourism Industry Association, and for the first time post-COVID, we're going to have Hanal Pishan again in the park on October 28th. And the whole community can come and set up their individual altars, and it's a grand event. Followed that on November 9th, we are going to have the Bish. The Bish is celebrated in 𝗖𝗵𝗲 and other 𝐸𝐾𝐸 villages. It's the first time it's going to be fully celebrated in the town of Corozal. And we're doing both cemeteries. The cemeteries effectively get lit up with candles to honor the memory of our departed loved ones. And there's also a belief system that on that night, their souls return to the afterlife. So that's a great event coming up. We've done the 𝗲𝗲𝗃, we've done other things, but we'll go on with, but we're very much keen on preserving all the traditions. The educational workshops, we ongoingly have workshops, especially for our children. Last year we had a week's workshop called Living in Harmony with Nature. That is vitally important to teach our children so that they can tell their parents to stop cutting down the trees. You know, don't put pesticide on the plants. The animals need the trees, we need the trees, we need the shade, we need the oxygen and so forth. So just keeping our ecosystem very safe. We taught them how to make their own piñatas around Christmas time so that they can celebrate with their families. And of course, the top one is the children learning how to be future archaeologists. Next, please. We have collaborated 5 different people to come up with the Marcos Canol corrido, and that's, we declared a few years ago that Marcos Canol was not a rebel as the oppressors say, but he's actually our hero because he's the only one that stood up to the invaders when they came and took away the lands of the indigenous people. So you can find that on Facebook, on YouTube. And for promotional activities, if we go back, we are always at the forefront of promotional activities to let people know that we are here and we are working hard to preserve our culture. One of the main things we did is if you go to Cristo Rey, you can visit the 𝐸𝐾𝐸 Museum there in Cristo Rey, and that is funded by our own pockets. And we work closely with all the tertiary level schools. And so this is here related to UB Belizean Studies. And we have a slide where Mr. Roy is teaching the adult language class, and I'm teaching the children language class. Promotional activities, like I say, we were just in Carrillo Puerto this summer. We go to all the community events. We go to all the schools to teach the children. So we're always very, very busy and sometimes very, very tired. And next, please. One of the things that came up this year is that we embarked on the first research project in collaboration with our professors from George Mason University. And there have been many studies of indigenous people worldwide. There has never been any study of indigenous people in Belize. So we started in the northern Belize. And what we're doing is we are collecting saliva sample of contemporary Maya and comparing it with the Maya who have lived for 3,000 years and coming up to find out what the correlation. I can't tell you beyond that. That's for the professors to give the results. And that results will be delivered next year in the archaeological week. So keep your eyes open for that. Our great milestone occurred last year when the government gave us the Indigenous Peoples Day celebration for the first time. We celebrated it in the village of 𝗙𝐵. I thought it was very important that it came from a Yucatec Maya community. However, this year we decided to do it at the most sacred temple of 𝗥𝗲𝗃, and we had a very wonderful event on Monday, and thanks to all the brothers and sisters who came out to celebrate with us. The other milestone that we have is that we believe that the children are the now and the future. So instead of having a Maya queen, we incorporated the children, and we have Maya princesses. So our Maya princess, they win their crown by the command of the Maya, Yucatec Maya language. The other thing about that is that we don't have any judges who might be biased. We have the audience become the judges, and that's quite fun. Next. Yes, so like I say, one of the first actions we did was to open a Facebook page, so kindly follow us and share. We're good people. We're always doing good things. Next. One of the things we did is during COVID, we gave out a lot of food baskets. We actually traveled to the community and made sure they had sustenance. But another thing that came out this year is we had what we call the Health Restoration Fair. And this happened about 3 weeks ago. And people who wanted comprehensive medical attention came, and they were seen by Dr. Ninfa Ken, and also by Dr. Mark Nedru, who's a chiropractor, and also by psychologist Ivan Valencia. So we gave comprehensive care to our community. We had 22 people come in for care and 11 people for chiropractic care. So, and that will be ongoing. We will do it every 3 or 4 months. Next. And these are all slides of our grand celebration on Monday, second Indigenous People Resistance Day celebration. And so we incorporated, this celebration started with the sacred ceremony at 5 o'clock in the morning, followed by a day event, and then also an evening event. But we had the indigenous people, the Yucatec Maya, and the Garifuna present. And there's the ambassador at large, the Garifuna Nation was present. One drawback to our celebration is that we could not get the funding to bring our Maya brothers from the south to join us in the north. So that is put as an intention for next year, and we want, is that appropriate to say a boatload of Maya brothers? No, let's say a busload. Yes. But we want to see a full demonstration of the Maya power on that event, so thanks. Okay, next. Oh, like Martin Luther King, we also have a dream, and our dream is that in our community to have a 𝐸𝐴 Academy where our children can learn and just focus on learning. People of the community can come and learn, and we also want to have a visitors center, and I hope that you will share that dream with me. Thank you. So on behalf of the directors of 𝗏𝗲𝗄𝐴 𝐸𝐴, thank you very much. I really appreciate this time.
Thank you, Ms. Adela. For those that did not come out to Chactamal last Monday, it was really, really fun. I think that you can still get some of the footage on their Facebook page as well as the Institute for Social and Cultural Research page. But we have our final presentation, and the representative of Inoon Lao Student Association is the advisor to that association, Dr. 𝗵𝗄𝗃. A round of applause, please, for Dr. 𝗵𝗄𝗃.
All right, you missed it. So, if I stay behind here, you're not going to see me, and if I put my computer there, I might be too distracted. I was kind of hoping that I could have some type of control over my presentation, but I'll try to do it from here. And as you get older, we can move it a little bit. That's fine. I think that's good enough. All right. I took this case to the highest authority in the land, with the presence of our president, obviously. I told the Governor General we need to do something about it. She agreed that there need to be a more culturally sensitive podium at the University of Belize. Mr. President, you have not done anything about that, and I want to hold you to, I will hold you to task, right? So good afternoon, and thank you all very much. I do speak Maya, so I'm going to speak a little bit in Maya, but I'm going to start and pick on my friend Aurelio, and then I'll go from there. So you ready? So, Malokin. Mayano nukulat ana Dios echiltitani. Wakakakachakushte mayun nukul. Malokin masiano tohil. Tibalo tunu malokin titech. Malokin. What I just told him is the word Dios doesn't have any phonemic meaning at all in my language. It's actually a bastardization of the word Dios. So that when you're being approached by the Europeans, if you said Dios, well, maybe they'll spare your life. But the word malo means good, or wonderful, or amazing. And the word kin is, of course, the sun or day. So malokin means good day, right? So malokin titesh means good day to you all, right? But I do think that speaking the language is really important. I have to recognize the presentation of my good friend and mentor in many ways, Mr. Roy Cayetano. One time he took me to his farm with his kids. I don't know if you remember that incident, right? We were there and he came back and Brother Roy was very furious because somebody swung a machete at his golden plum and we were all being interrogated. Well, I was like, I'm sure I didn't hit this plum. You know, I know what a golden plum is. And so he was very upset, and he think that maybe it was Isani or Imani, one of these guys, hit that golden plum. But what we were doing there was actually to go cut green corn that day. This is something that I still remember very much, right? Okay, so, but I have to recognize what he's saying, and he had made some very, very important points, and I think that it does paint a grim picture for what we're doing in terms of preserving culture, resisting all the other exogenous forces that are affecting us. It is difficult for me to say, I am Maya. Tell you why. I go sleep, I dream in English. I get vexed, I cuss in English. I want to fall in love, I try to use English words, right? And what that simply means is that I have been assimilated very deeply. Here at the University of Belize, we have not done very much to do that. But there is hope. And I'm going to hold my leaders. I'm glad you all are here because this is really important for us. And I have taken this really, really personally because it has been a very long time, right? So, in Onlao, let me see if I can, do I just push this? It should be able, yeah, well, I don't know. But anyway, so, so Inonlao started with a very ambitious vision, right? And of course, our vision is unity through Maya cultural experience. I have it here right on my shirt, okay? This is an ambitious thing because what we had noticed when we sat down as a small group of students figuring out what we're supposed to do, we realized that we were so separated. We tried very hard to find how different we are rather than how similar we are. But I think if you look at the Yucatec Maya, the Mupan Maya, and the Kekchi Maya in particular, there's so much things that overlaps with one another. But we're afraid to recognize that for some reason or the other. And that reason was made very crystal clear today by Brother Roy Young. Not Young, Cayetano, Roy Cayetano. I know a lot of Roy, that's why. Mr. Roy Cayetano, right? Which is, there was a whole system that was put in place, which we still grapple with today, that we have to find out who we are in the hardest way. We were told we have to be European, right? We have to be that. And yes, I find myself wondering about that. Our mission is very clear. It's to foster Maya culture in a scholarly platform for the revitalization and enhancement of indigenous cultural values and philosophies through education, research, and services. Now, these are very basic things for us to do here at the university. This is what we're supposed to do as a university. This is aligned with the vision and mission of our university. Problem is, and this is where, again, I'm going to pick on my people here. How you turn this thing on? You should go off by yourself? Oh, it's working. All right, sorry about that. I pushed it too much. All right, okay, here we go. Fine. Our purpose is basically for us to foster and promote appreciation of indigenous Maya cultural diversity on and off campus, and of course to enhance cultural awareness through education, research, and service. What we had realized was that we need to be more active, more applied, more down to earth with our people, right? The University of Belize's mandate is to do just that. The problem with that we have right now is we don't have any place. Inonlao does not have a home. It's a group of students who come together and they go home, and when they go home, there is no place for it to sit and say, that is where we are, right? We came to life on October 16th, right, in 2016, right? And this was a really important point because this is when the university actually made us sign this form that you have to be a part of this university. So we're legit, right? We could get money through UB, although they're not going on. But we could beg, and they will give you, no, they have helped us. The university has been very kind to us, right? But this was an important day for us. This thing, and who pointed that? Oh, if I pointed at the president, it work. All right. Where are we? There you go. All right. There you go. All right. So why did we do this, right? It was for a very practical reason. And again, I don't want to go through all of these things because it has been very much well said, right? A few Maya students of the University of Belize saw the need for us to come together and promote the Maya culture, right? Until this time, the Maya students shared a feeling of isolation and were left alone to fend for themselves, right? To us, we're saying, but that's not true. That's not that be. Then kind of you get orientation, you show them all the thing, you tell them how to register, make sure they understand how to pay. That's very important. But after that, we just leave them be. But this is a very important point for us to think about because you're bringing a person that is used to live in a certain way into an entire new environment. And you don't allow that person any mechanism at all to say, how do I deal with this, right? How do I go talk to my president? How do I go see my president and complain about the fact that I get an F in my class because my teacher don't like me? How do I do that, right? There's a really long process to do that. And those systems are very different. And like what Mr. 𝗵𝗻 mentioned, in the communities, there's a direct line. You exactly know how to do that. And it's not because the university is unwilling, but it's because the route that you take is not designed to accommodate these type of cultural relevance and practices, right? So many students felt that they had to, and most still, adapt to the mainstream culture of today. What that mean, right? As just as the next point said, right? Many students had to keep their culture and traditions and language as far as possible in the background of their formal education. There's nothing here on the University of Belize that tells you, come here and this is where you could speak Maya. None whatsoever. And I really agree with you. This should be where we started. This should be where we make it happen. And in Onlao, really, saw the need to create that space to allow for Maya culture appreciation and growth at the University of Belize, right? You don't have to be Maya to join the club. You don't have to be Maya. There's no rule that says you have to look like me and you bend this mic as low as possible for me to join the club. No, right? So as long as you're interested in Maya, we're going to talk Maya, we're going to do Maya, and we're going to eat as much Maya food as possible. And we have tried to do that in as many ways as possible, right? Why? Because it is fundamentally important, right? Did I switch? Yes. Okay. They're not connected, you say, so I have to switch. You know, how can I wait? But just as a point, which I'm not going to again belabor the point. I know you all are tired, so I try to go as fast as I could, right? To destroy a language is really to destroy a culture identity. That's bottom line, right? Because many of that culture is embedded in our language. Language is just not a way for us to communicate. It's not like texting, right? Language embeds all the things that makes our very well-being come to existence. So, when I ask you what's your last name, I should be able to understand where you are. Miss Cantun, what does your name mean? Wait, I want the Cantun one. Because that I love, right? She had to change her name because of love. So, I'm going to tell you why. Precious Stone. Huh? Precious Stone, right? Well, and canto, you have a canto. You have canto, right? When you say canto, what does canto mean? You know what I mean, right? Early summer, I had the privilege of driving all over Yucatan. And I actually went to a village called Tecanto. And the guy who took me there, his last name was Cantun. And while we were sitting there talking, he told me, you know what, my name is not really Cantun, you know. My name is Cantun. I was like, oh. Well, now I understand what you're talking about. Because can, which is yellow, tun means rock. So it's yellow rock. Your name makes sense. And how about this guy, Canto? He said, why is this village called Tecanto? He said, because this village has a very well known for yellow gravel. So the people say, Te and Tok. And Tok, right? Which and Tok, and the Tok means it's rocks. So there is Te and yellow Tok. So there where the yellow stones are. It connects us to who we are. We know where we come from, right? And this makes perfect sense to us. So traditional knowledge, traditional education is something that is really important, right? These include medicinal knowledge, all the things that you all mentioned today, spiritual guidance, agriculture systems, hunting, art, architecture. All of these are at risk if we lose our languages, right? It is our identity. Do you know that during Hurricane Iris, there were many of these wealthier Mayans who bought all these prefabricated houses that the brothers of the Mennonite community sold? A lot of them buy that and they cement it and everything and put it down. Iris came and it toppled the thing over like little pieces of dominoes. Gone. And the ones that were built with Mayan architecture, yeah, they twist, they buckle, but it only took a few Mayan men to straighten back up, and it's good to go. And really, when you think about these things, that was designed precisely for that reason. But we don't value that. When I say, oh, then a minor, then a primitive housing, we need to upgrade them people's housing, right? Let's think about that for a little bit, right? So the University of Belize is, my students of the University of Belize deserves to harness and share this knowledge to whomever is willing to learn. And I think that resonates with what you're saying, Mr. Shaw. We need to document it. We need to share it. This is for us to be able to do. So what have we done so far? We just talk. Not really. We have done a couple of things, particularly in relation to language. We have celebrated a couple of the International Mother Day language. Actually, the year passed, and you rightfully said, we did something, but it was a smally smoke, right? It wasn't very big. And I really, this is one of the unsavory topics to talk about in Belize, right? Sorry, Dr. Savory, I use your name in a bad way, right? But this is an unsavory thing to talk about, right? Because we don't want to acknowledge that there is discrimination among us. We don't want to acknowledge that there is racism among us. And one of the things I've learned being at the University of Belize is the more educated people are, the higher the degree, it's harder to convince them that, you know what, we are the same. We're all working towards one cause, right? It's much more difficult. But according to International Mother Language in 2018, International Mother Language Day recognizes that languages and multiculturalism can advance inclusion. That's necessary for us. That's not a want. That's a need. That's a necessity we have here in Belize. We have to stop being afraid of each other, right? And I'm telling you, this is serious. The same year, I heard this story where a gun was pulled on a Maya person because he spoke to another Maya person in an office. How do you think about that? Horrible, right? A gun was pulled on this guy. We don't talk Maya, you talk English. Do you know where that happened? Do you want to know where that happened? Less than 20 feet, less than what? Where's the RLC building? Right over there. This happened in an office right there. We have some real work to do. We have some real soul checking to do. These are not stories that are of afar. Right? A lot of people came to me and say, boy, are you praying for Israel? And I tell them, yes. But I think we should also pray for Hamas and all the Palestinians who are being killed. Because if you are not oppressed, you have no reason to fight. If you are not oppressed, you have no reason to resist, but reasons to celebrate. And that's what I think is important for us to do, is to recognize that and to be able to celebrate it. At our first Mother Day language, we had some important guest speaker. We had Mr. Faustino Yam, as well as our lady here, Ms. Cantun. And of course, our second president, actually, Ms. Melissa Chiak, right? This is the executive at the time, right? I just switched it now that Mr. Cayetano just turned it around. So these are the people that we work with, right? You get it here too, right, Mr. Kaya, all right? This is the one in 2019. You see the difference in terms of the number of people who are participating? And I will tell you this. If you go check the books at UB and the accounts at UB and the records at UB never pay nothing for this thing except for, they tell us there's a room you could use. We had to find the money to do it, and it was very, very difficult. But the determined students of Inonlao said, no, we will do it. And I really feel bad for them sometimes because they don't stop. They don't give up. They work very, very hard. And I am there with them, but without them, this would not be possible, even in my wildest dream. Right? Tell you. COVID-19 was not nice to us. COVID-19 brought a very important reality to us. Before COVID-19, we were able to meet. We would come to our room and we meet and we could talk. But when COVID-19 came, we realized that this was not possible. Why? Most of our members went back to their communities and villages, into the rural Toledo and Cayo and Stan Creek districts. And guess what? There was no internet. So all the virtual meetings and all the Zoom and all the pretty things, they're right by the border of Belmopan at Las Flores. None happened after that, right? It was a really difficult one. So in 2021, we had the relaunch of, was it 2021 or 2022? 2022, when you became president. 2021, you were interim, right? That was the year we had the relaunch of the Inonlao. It was a rebirth. And we were very happy that the Governor General partnered with us, right? And our president obviously showed up at the time as well. But it was a very important thing. Just the year before that, the woman who's dancing in there with Mr. Matthew Sakul, is the mother of one of the students that we lost during the COVID-19, Mr. Alejandro Pop, right? Alejandro was an executive member of the non-law. This is how important these clubs are. This is how important this is. Indigenous people, I know your story. I know a lot of story about you, right? About moving president. But he will agree with me that indigenous people never make for live alone, lock up in a room by themselves. We need with friends, we need with family, we need with cousin. We need to smell that food where we're familiar with. And that's what a lot of these students endure when they come here, being alone, being locked up. They don't have nobody to talk to, right? And I'm thinking that this may be what happened because Alejandro took his own life. The parents came to me and they relied on me and they talked with me and they said that, look, this was his only sense of community, this club. So there's a very real thing that we're dealing with here, right? He was able to speak. He loved to dance, he loved to sing, he loved to do all these different things, right? We need to continue doing that. One of our bigger events yet was the 𝗷𝗵𝗵𝗵 Maya Day. Again, this was an uphill battle, but we really, really appreciated two things. 𝗷𝗵𝗵𝗵 was very, very much behind me. He's unfortunately not here today for very personal reasons. But he was really, really behind, and he said, you know what, we could do it, Dr. Saki, let's do it. We got discouraged several times. But then we went and talked to the big man. And I expected to get the same answer that I would normally get from before, right? Which is, it costs a lot of money. We don't budget for this, don't bother with it. He said, you know what? He said, let's see what we can do. I'll try to see what resources I have. Make it work on this thing. That was enough. We got all the encouragement we need. We got very good support. We had support from 𝐷𝐞𝐬𝐢, we had support from the government of Belize, from PAC, from BTB, and people just started helping us from all over. We were able to bring the Dare Dance for the first time in the history of the University of Belize here and be able to enjoy it. I was a bit disappointed that far less people was there. Our publicity was not very good. But then again, we're dealing with students, and these students didn't really have the resources and be able to do it, right? We also, at the same day, featured the 𝗞𝗏𝗏 game, right? Again, these are the type of things we want to encourage. Not for us to be, like, for sale or for show, but to build that appreciation that I think we have lost in so many ways, right? One of the things that we did a couple of years ago was the doing of the Maya hieroglyph writing. Mr. Jorge de Leon came and did a seminar for us for a day. Students are very excited. I don't think we're going to read newspapers anytime soon and be able to see TV and things like that in using Mayan hieroglyphs. But it did one thing. It did validate to these young people that there was a system that actually did work for them, and their language mattered because that language was tied to this thing, right? To this thing, these characteristics. And these were very important for them to be able to be a part of. We want to continue doing that. So, I switch here, but I need to switch in on that. All right. Here you go. Are we there? All right. So I do want to take the time out to recognize our advisor, Mr. 𝗓𝗓, who is not here today. He is perhaps one of the oldest 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 𝗓𝗓. The word 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 means, literally translated, big man, right? I will never be 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸. But in meaning, and they try to keep me president a week, that's why. But in meaning and significance, 𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸𝐸 means you have earned the right to be recognized as an elder in the community. So this is something that is really fundamentally important, right? So he has been a part of this student organization from the very beginning, and we had the first seminar, the first retreat, leadership retreat. He was there. He did all the ceremonies, and that's this thing that you point with, right? How you point to this thing? I'm careful enough to point at the moment. But that is him right there doing his ceremony and talking to us. In his closing for that day, he shared a story, or he shared in his closing lecture. He talked to the executive and he told them, "You're going to leave where you come from, and you're going to be in a place where you're going to be expected to live. That's not easy, he said. If you have ever been to the Belize Zoo, he said, and you look in the cage of the jaguar and you look in the eyes of the jaguar, you're seeing death. Not death of you, but death of the jaguar, that particular. I said, why? Why is he saying that? And he said to us, because when you remove that jaguar from the forest and you put it in a cage, no matter how well you feed it, how healthy it is, or how much you inject it so that it stays to be the physically fit, the moment you release the jaguar back into the forest, it's a dead jaguar. Why? Because the jaguar doesn't know how to hunt, rely and believe that only humans could feed it, but more importantly, in his ranks of being a jaguar among jaguars, he doesn't exist. Therefore, he's going to die. Don't be a caged jaguar. Always go back to where you come from. And that is something very important for us to learn. We have also worked with Dr. 𝐸𝐵𝐷𝐶𝐠𝐞, Professor 𝐸𝐵𝐷𝐶𝐿 from the University of Virginia. She's a linguist. She did all her studies in Belize and data collection with the Mayan people in San Antonio, Toledo. She has very much incredible collection of videos and recordings and things like that. So we have worked with her, with the students, and we had a seminar with her at 𝗲𝗏𝗀𝐾 Center of Learning with the 𝗲𝗏𝗀 students to be able to document traditional stories and things like this. But there's a concept that she's working with which I really, really like. The word 𝐶𝐶. 𝐶𝐶. And so I've heard this story before, but it's used in a derogatory way, right? So if I walk in here barefooted and without a shirt, well, I'm acting 𝐶𝐶. I go on kind of way, I I'm not correct, something wrong with me. But when you read the stories and when you listen to the stories, the legends that are told, there's a very important character that comes out of the 𝐶𝐶. They're powerful. They speak their language. They're able to heal themselves in the wild. They don't come in contact with anything that is not related to their particular ecosystem. What does that sound like? It sounds like a group of people who are resisting. These are people who resisted. And today, if you go to any one of these Mayan community, they see Mr. I forget your name, Mr. Kevin coming down. We say, oh, kana Cristiano watak. We don't know what your religion. You could be a Muslim for all we know. You could be atheist for all we know. But we see you come and call you Cristiano. Because we have associated people who we associate with as normal, radical, educated people as Cristiano. From the Christian mentality, right? But if the man is going bad, if the man is going bad and the rebel, well, right? We look on the man and we say he's a wild, disrespectful, uneducated person. Language has meaning. Language is important, and it's important for us. So this is one of the things we work with. I know you're tired, President. I go right now. All right. So where are we going? We have a lot of things to do, right? ILSA, or the Indigenous or the Inoan Lao Student Association, has a very ambitious plan to include all students who are interested in Maya culture, right? We have a lot of things to do. We're working in developing a mentorship program, and this mentorship program is going to take a very indigenous nature, right? See, we have a counseling center here at the University of Belize, right? Where they bring you down and they make you lay down on the couch and they tell you to breathe and, hold your hand out, make us say how nervous you're nervous, and okay, then tell me what is troubling you. None of this works for indigenous people, right? If you are an indigenous person, you know that you don't go down the wrong path, right, Miss? These concept of counseling exists, but they have their terminology, they have the words they use, and they have the relevance, right? Hakil olal. We try to say, well, hakil olal, what is it? Case, how do we say hakil olal? How do we say it in English? How do we say it in Spanish? How do you translate that? Hakil olal. It's a sickness, right? But how do you go to my counselor at UB, sir, I think I have hakil olal. The man will tell you, we don't serve that here, right? But it is a very real sickness. And it's something very important for us. So we want to have something to that nature where work. The sickness is associated with anxiety. But the word yol or ol, right, is your being. It's what makes you who you are. So when you go through a very traumatic experience, the yole, the who you are, literally leaves your body. So you're walking like a shell. You don't even digest correct. You could get fever, your immune system starts to weaken, right? Everything concerns you and frightens you. Does it sound familiar to you? This is exactly what anxiety is, right? And so when somebody, and no matter how much you try to you give people, I could give you Anderson, I could give you, all kind of thing, but it is that spiritual nature of healing that's important. What do you call it here? Counseling, right? But again, if I show up to you and tell you I have alcohol, you're going to look at me and say, you're crazy, right? So this is something very important for us. So we want to do something like this, right? And so we want to build, again, we will use concepts of guidance and support that are relevant to the Maya way. And hopefully we will engage our community members, right? It's a large community right here in Belize. San Vapan, Mayamopan, all these places, San Martin, have a lot of these indigenous. In fact, our harp player passed away, 2 years ago, right? 2 years ago, he passed away. And the man left and take all the knowledge with him. We didn't have a chance to be able to teach somebody to do it. We should not let those things happen. I'm worried right now about our mentor. He's reaching the sunset of his time. And it is very difficult to do this. I am not a musician. I want to get a couple music friends to go sit down and write the music. Well, see, again, it's not just about writing the music. You can write the songs down, right? But it's the spiritual meaning and what it has behind it that is really difficult to document. And this is always going to be our challenge. All right? So I just do want to give my gratitude to our past leaders. Our first president was Jeremiah Chiak. He was here. I saw him, but I was up front. I couldn't recognize him, and I think he's gone already. But we have Anne Melissa Chiak, who was our second president. Our third president, Ms. Joyce Lin Chun. Please raise your hand back there, Joyce. Thank you very much. Joyce served the longest because she went through the roughest time. That was COVID time. And of course, Joyce did what she could. And she was challenged with, how you talk to people? You can't call in person, you can't walk, catch the bus and go sit down. It was a really tough time. But she brought back the club to life. She relaunched the club. And I'm very proud of her to have done that. And now she has passed on the baton. Thank you very much. Really, I truly appreciate it. And she has passed on the baton to Carla Chi, who is currently in Punta Gorda, and she's sharing her time between Belmopan and UB campus and Punta Gorda campus as well. Right? Our first co-advisor was our Senator Isabella Bennett, but she has left the university since. And then we were kind of left to struggle by ourselves, right? And I did most of the other things then. But it's tiring, it's a lot of work. So I'm very happy to have now Mr. 𝗲𝗲𝗃, who among the 1,000,001 things he's doing, he's this co-advisor for the club, right? And in conclusion, let me just finish up. Is that the Maya students of Belize makes up a very large percentage of the UB population, right? It's a very big percentage. And you know what? They actually pay, They're not the only group of people who really paid in dues on time because they're afraid to get kicked out of the University of Belize. So we have to treat them nice as president. They know war. All right. And so we hope to see in Lao Students Association members on all campuses, right? We really want to do this. But let's not do it for show. We not do it because we want to sell this thing. I mean, granted, right? The tourism industry has made billions of dollars out of the name Maya. Maya temple, Maya food, Maya culture. They even do Maya wedding now at the beach in Hopkins, If you want to get married, they do it, right? They bring somebody from somewhere and dress up in a jaguar skin and feathers and all kind of. Let us not do it. And let's be very, very much mindful that culture is not for sale. When you sell your culture, you sell your rights. You cannot do that. Let us document it. Let us learn it. Let us share it. Let us respect it. I am privileged and very happy to have grown among various different cultures of people, the Garifuna being one of them. I spent 4 years in Dangriga living with the Garifuna people. Honestly, during that time, I never felt any different, right? And I was privileged even, right? I can't tell you the who, because you might go beat me up. Took me to one of these Dugu. Know anybody going at Dugu? Business day. But they snuck me in. And I was very amazed and respect it very much because it has a meaning that no matter how much words I put down to describe it, you will not understand it until you get there and you feel that spirit moving inside of you. It is there. It is real, right? We can't sell anything. We can't. Just like what Aurelio said, when the marimba strikes, you feel that thing run through your body. No matter how much you want to say, it don't make sense. It does. It is important, right? And so UB will be a catalyst of change, and we will do so by embracing and supporting our indigenous students with all the rights, it should be with all the rights and privileges they deserve. They are a very vital and an important member of the university body, right? I am one of 2 Mupan Maya lecturers at the University of Belize. I was at the bank one day and they asked me, where you work, sir? UB. Oh, you're the security, no? I arrived at an office here to meet with another colleague. At the time I was dean. I walked into the office and the secretary at the University of Belize asked me, he said, who you want to talk to? I give him the person. The person, I have an appointment, right? But he asked me who I want to talk to. So he told me to sit down and wait. I sat there and waited. After 5 minutes or so, the person called the person I'm there to see. And I mentioned him because this is real stuff, right? And the young lady told the person I'm talking to, sir, you have an appointment today, but somebody there for you. And obviously the question on the other side was, who is it? And the secretary said, a man from PG. A man from PG. I never yet lived at PG. I was actually living at Blackman Eddy, although the village name kind of funny. But that's where I was living at the time, right? Folks, let me just say thank you for your time. These are just some images that we have celebrated. We had I don't know if this works. Anyway, I think this stopped work. Oh, there we go. This is just pictures of people who have worked with. 𝐸𝐸 is a vibrant student organization. It's a very good opportunity. And I do hope that the University of Belize does not only take this as a good show and the comedy that Dr. 𝐶𝐬𝐢 is making a good presentation, make we laugh because you don't late and we're hungry, and I appreciate that. But I also appreciate the respect for those of you who stayed behind. And I really do want to say, Botik. And there's no other way to tell you guys, but this is something that I think that I have waited for a long time. I've been at the university for 26 years, right? And it was not until 2016 that we saw as a Mayan group. Most of you remember Seferino Coleman, right? Wake up in the morning, boy to be nafi, chow chong, salon, Houghton Morgan, blah, 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 he goes up. And I used to like that because, it's inclusive. And I started doing that to go to when I started teaching at UB. The Spanish person will answer, buenos dias, yeah, buenos dias. And, even the Chinese, yeah, Shawan, I understand you, yeah. And the German, well, we never had much then at the time, right? But the Maya people, they would not answer. They would not speak. We cannot be silenced anymore when it comes to our language. If you must take a bullet to speak your language, take the bullet. But it's far more important that you speak your language because that is who you are. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Dr. 𝐶𝐬𝐢. That was our final panelist for this morning, now this afternoon. And I think that by now we learned 2 words. Botik, Malokin, and Butbinafe. So 3, right? Right? At least 3. But now I know that we're hungry. We're almost done. I promise we're almost done. But we do have the Q&A session that will be moderated by Dr. Christopher DeShield. And remember, I tell you to write down, right? Take out on a pen, take out on a paper, and write down and ask them the questions, because I just stay at the top for Derek. So, Dr. DeShield, the floor is yours.
All right. Yeah. So I have a mic here. I just want to say that this is an incredible privilege to be present here at this Habink, was it? To listen. It's a rich discussion. So we have very little time for questions, but I know my colleague 𝗲𝗵𝗵𝗶 had intended at least this to be a start of something much greater and to continue in this effort. My students from Latin American literature are here for the whole thing. Appreciate you. And certainly will take a lot of this information to the classrooms and to the institution of various parts. So if you have any questions, raise your hand. I think we can take questions in multiple languages, you know. And I'll pass the mic to you. Any questions or responses at this time? Everybody's too hungry? Oh, we have one over here. I have lots of notes in my book that I could.
Thank you so much. Cynthia Ellis Lobafo. Cynthia Ellis 𝗲𝗵𝗃 Lobafo 𝐸𝐶𝐸. I apologize for coming in late, all the way from Corozal, and that wonderful experience that Sister Adela organized with her community. Very powerful. My question has to do with the way forward, all this rich sharing, and specifically to Ms. Adela and to Ms. Felicita. Ms. Felicita and I were part of a delegation last year supported by the University of Belize, where we attended the United Nations Indigenous People Forum. So for you, Ms. Felicita, as we move forward, what are some of the things that you have learned in your journey? What are some of the tools? What are some of the things that you can see we can do to support and interact with the university moving forward? I have the same question to Ms. Adela, but since it's fresh in your mind, Ms. Adela, you did an awesome gathering where you had dignitaries and so on and so forth. How do you see, what is it that you need, what kind of support that you need that the university can give to you as we move forward as indigenous people?
I think that the universities can just support our youth, first of all, as Dr. Saki was saying, to support them with academia, although academia is very important, but also to keep the essence of a person's identity, recognizing where they came from, and preparing that platform, that foundation for them to develop into a vibrant person in the community. So the work starts in our community and we hand them over to the university, but just being mindful that that's how we would like their development to continue. You know, not to separate their identity once they come into the university platform, but to be mindful of their culture, their where they came from, and also continue to lance them off into the world.
I think university can do lots of things. One, support the students. I think I mentioned how we were punished. We were punished when we were going to school. Therefore, the university should have teachers who understand their students, who understand who I am. What are my needs? And support them. The students should feel free to express who they are, who I am. there should be a time for them to do that. Thank you.
Any other questions from Assembly? All right, Ram. Okay.
Yeah, this is for Dr. I'm blanking on your name right now, Roy, with the Garifuna. When I was out speaking, the lady you had in support of the group was explaining things to me that I did not understand about how the words changed depending on what they were, and I was asking if the books you had there, if there was a place to purchase those or get copies. I run a little library since 2008, way in the north. And today was the first day. I must commend the woman as she explained to me, as I would listen to Garifuna songs. I know what the translations were, but I didn't understand what was verb, what was, the pattern of the language. So that was quite interesting, and I was interested in finding out more about accessing more books. The library is a small little library. I have space for books about Belize and books written by Belizean authors, and that's very hard to find. And I thought maybe anyone on the panel might know where these could be purchased, even if only in an electronic form.
When it comes to the language and information regarding the structure of the language and that kind of thing, you may have to rely on dissertations because it isn't likely that there's a dearth of that kind of publication. And that is the reason why it is important that the studies be done locally so that the knowledge, information can be made available, packaged in a way that it is made available to teachers and other interested people. Garifuna is a verb, subject, object language. English is subject, verb, object language, right? The subject comes first. John saw Mary. Whereas in Garifuna, he sees her first before he is identified. Ariha Lumutu, John Mary. The thing is that, and this is very important because it isn't enough to know the language. That in and of itself does not qualify you to teach the language, because yes, you have the grammar, it is in your head, but you can't bring it out. So you can say, it is correct to say it this way, but not correct to say it that way. But you can't explain why. You know what is correct, you know what is wrong, but you can't explain it. And that is the reason why even people who can speak the language well are not adequately equipped to teach it. And they themselves can do with a study of the language. Now, we can teach English, even if we are not trained as teachers, because from the time we started learning English, we learned the grammar of English. We learned the parts of speech. We learned about gender, number, person, tenses, and so on. That's a part of the package. And so by the time we finish primary school, we know all of those things. But you can be fluent in a language, like Garifuna, and but you can't speak, but you might not even know you might not even notice that it operates differently. Just to give an example, I was doing some work with some teachers in Honduras, consultancy for the Ministry of Education, financed by the World Bank. And they were prepared because they were doing some work in preparation for teaching Garifuna, or native languages in the schools. And in one of the workshops I said, you see this $50 bill, US? I will give this to the first person who can give me a word in Garifuna that ends in a consonant. And these were people who speak Garifuna. And you could have seen the wheels churning in their heads because, oh yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm a linguist. I have studied. So I gave them that challenge because I know that there is no word in Garifuna that ends in a consonant. But then the average Garifuna speaker is not even aware of that, even the most fluent speaker of the language. So there is a need to study it and to have the information that comes out of it, the observations that come out of it, to trickle down to the speakers themselves, to teachers and so on, about their language. So we can know about our language the way we know about somebody else's language, English, Spanish, and so on.
All right, we have time for one more question. Got one here.
This question is for Mr. Kayatano, but any of the other panelists can also answer this question. How likely will we reach the point of no return to revitalize the indigenous language of Belize, and how can we revive it?
Well, since the mic is close to me, I'll quickly say that it depends on us. It depends on what we do. If we don't do anything, then we have already reached the point of no return. But if we are prepared to take action, we can reverse it.
And maybe if I can add to that, my whole point of the examples I gave is what we've built into our day-to-day operations as people who are actually influencing what's happening in communities. So we're normalizing these things. You can't expect anybody else to do it. We have to make it a part of our strategy. It is a part of our approach as an entity, as an organization, that language is the means through which we will communicate, connect with our community. So that's very important. I know that it's a real risk. I had a recent experience in one of the villages, because we're also, the other biggest threat to language is its integrity is also being lost. So let's say, for instance, in 𝗥𝐶 we would say, masali kwa. Masali kwa. And for those who speak 𝗥𝐶, they think that that is correct, that that is speaking 𝗥𝐶. It's actually not. Mas is not 𝗥𝐶. Mas is Spanish. Hual sali kwa. It's a difference. Hual, it comes from deep down. So there is a real risk that a lot of our young people, and even our community, the community member was telling me, speak to us like how we speak normal 𝗥𝐶. So I had to take time to explain the danger in that as well, and the importance in actually trying to recover. And it has been this is one of my personal battle. And it has been something that I've been working on every time, trying to correct and trying to catch when I'm actually going back into those same traps. So it's not easy. So I think that that's one of the greatest challenges that we're staring at right now, even in communities where we think we are all speaking our language. It's not, the integrity of it is actually not there.
I would say, I'm talking about Maya Yucatec. Our pronunciation, even Spanish. I can recall once there was a confirmation mass at Yo Creek. And well, I went to this ceremony, and right by the door, the lady in charge said, can you do this reading for us? I said, yes, I can read in Spanish. So I took the paper, and I did not even bother to go over it. I'm sure I can speak Spanish, I can read Spanish. So when it was my turn to go and do I think it was the second reading, and I read, and I said, y en el ano. Because they did not have the little tilde on top of the N, it should have been año. And then I said, ano, my God. I felt really bad. So little things like these, we must pay attention to them. I know whenever I am teaching Maya. Okay, Maya has the K, a normal K, and then another K with an apostrophe. A P, a normal P, and another P with an apostrophe. Different little things. So when I teach, I insist that the students give me the correct pronunciation. And that K with the apostrophe gives the children lots of problem. So, like, K with the apostrophe is kat, glottal, kat. And some children have difficulty, and one of the children said, because she could not get it out. No, you are not correct. You need to try and try and try. And she kept trying until she said, Maestra, quítale el apostrophe. She wanted me to remove the apostrophe so that she can just say, no, then that would be something else, just like my ano experience. So we need, whenever we are teaching, we need to pay attention to those little minor things.
I would say always be in action and push forward. And don't be afraid of making mistakes. If you may call something an ano and not an año, that's all part of it. Reminding everyone in my circles that before you could walk, you were creeping. So always be forgiving with yourself and everyone. And just keep an atmosphere of learning, pushing forward.
Yeah. Remember that we're losing our language by the second, by the minute. So it starts within you by accepting your identity. And by doing that is by speaking your language, sharing stories, every little thing. Try to sing, try to talk to your elder, your garifuna, grandfather, parents, and so forth, right? I want to share something funny, but our Maya titles are very unique, right? My name now is Sho. I don't know where that come from. I don't know where that came from, right? But, so I created a show, right? But it actually came from in the early days when our grandparents are going through registration. My grandfather's name is Sebastian. When he's being, the people writing, they write what they hear, right? So that is how we adapt. And that itself could be a very broad discussion, right? So that is how I arrived with that surname, Sho. But it came from a unique animal, the messenger. Ch-o-oh. Ch-o is rat in Mopan Maya. So, no call me Mr. Rat, though.
Glad I left my cheese home. Rats don't eat cheese, by the way. So this is something very, very important. I think it's a very good question that you ask, right? But here's the thing, and to follow up on his thing. My last name is Sakin, right? But imagine a European trying to write that down. Saki, don, and that's what I'm called today. Sakin has meaning, sunshine. That's I'm always bright, right? So it has meaning. But here's something I think the essence of what you're asking is this. Language really is up to you. Do you speak any language? Do you speak any Garifuna? You, right there, so. And I knew I was going to get into this point. That's why I want to say that. You see, no, my friend, right? And I want you to feel bad. This goes to everybody else who used to speak Garifuna. Do not stop speaking Garifuna. You still have it. You still have it. You just need to find another person who's willing to speak with you. Because if you don't find that person, that's where you're at the point of no return, right? And you see, we try to song, like I was actually in San Antonio. I went to visit a friend and I was having a very formal conversation. Tsikbal, we call it, speaking with respect. And the man said, well, 𝗬𝗗𝗃𝗲𝗂𝗏𝗃. I'm like, 𝗟𝗏𝗃? I said, what the hell? 𝗟𝗏𝗃. Do you recognize the word, Mr. Luigi? What does that mean? Or arrange, or something like that. But there is that colonial overlay. Just like how the English and the French were invaded, the English were invaded by the French. For them to sound sophisticated, they suddenly start to use French words in English. Because they're upper class, right? That's kind of the same thing that happened, right? But these are some of the things you have to think about. But language has meaning. So one final thing before you go, right? See, if you speak your language, you're conveying a philosophy that is unique to your culture. I'll give you a very short example. You have a pet? You don't have no pets? Anybody have a pet here? Animal not loving people? Okay, you have a pet, right? If I were to ask you how you say the word pet in your language, mascota, my pet, my animal, my thing like that. Or pet, right? Just something like that. But it's not a part of you. In Maya, for example, when we say the word my pet, how do we say it? Because if you know Maya.
Pet.
No impet.
Inwalak.
Inwalak, right? Because that changes to first person. Uyalak, awalak, tiwalak. These are breakdown, right? But if you break those two words, wa, lak, a, lak, right? It simply means my other, right? My pet is my other. In other words, my pet represents me. So when you kick my dog, you kick me. You ever have one pet where you get, when somebody beat the dog, you get vexed? Even if the dog maga and means you still get vexed. Why? Because that very fundamental philosophy, those kinds of things we lose. The language is not just words we're saying, it has a very important philosophical meaning, but that's a whole nother lecture, and I know people, hungry. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to all our panelists. And thus ends our very short Q&A session, but they're going to be here, so you could talk to them after this. I would just like to say a very big thank you to the Regional Language Center students. They had a Indigenous Language and Cultures of Belize and Latin America booths outside. There was an experience by the Regional Language Center that was directed by Mr. Luigi Cruz. So it's still available. Yes, but till 2 o'clock you have half an hour. And I would also like to say thank you to the Garifuna Student Association and to the Inon Lao for their educational booths as well. Thank you to all of you that stuck it out and stayed here till the very, very end. And please, as we are wrapping up, enjoy some of the marimba music stylings of Upash Maya. They're right there at the back. Can you say hi, please? Thank you. And as you are leaving, please enjoy some sahau and some chukwa. Thank you so much for coming and have a good day.